Madam Chair, we are now live and you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening to everyone. We welcome you all who are watching and listening to the Pitt County Board of Commissioners meeting for April 5th, 2021. Again, welcome. At this time, I will call the Pitt County Board of Commissioners meeting to order. Madam Clerk.
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick.
Here.
Commissioner Albright.
Here.
Commissioner Colson.
Here.
Commissioner McLawhorn. Commissioner McLawhorn.
Here.
Commissioner Nunley.
Here.
Commissioner Ward.
Here.
Commissioner White.
Here.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Here.
Everyone is present.
Thank you. We will now have invocation by Commissioner Mary Perkins Williams and the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Alex Albright.
Please bow your head in prayer. Dear God, this is a petition I'm offering on behalf of the Pitt County Board of Commissioners and the people throughout. This humble submission is a request of forgiveness for those actions that are ill will and the lack of understanding, and a prayer of mercy. Please share your grace with us as we address the will of the people. All these things I ask humbly in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Commissioner Albright.
Okay, let's all stand wherever we are and recite this pledge. Thank you. I pledge allegiance
To
to the flag of the United States
of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under
under
God,
God,
Indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I will now entertain a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
So move, Madam Chair.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that the agenda stands approved as printed. Madam Clerk.
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Commissioner Albright.
Yes.
Commissioner Colson.
Yes.
Commissioner McLawhorn.
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley.
Yes.
Commissioner Ward.
yes.
Commissioner White.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. At this time, we will have public address to the board. Mr. Manager, do we have any sign up?
Yes, ma'am. We have two people signed up. And before we do the public addresses, if we could ask our county attorney just to briefly read our statement concerning public addresses.
Yes, please do.
Thank you. Good evening. Pitt County welcomes comments on all matters of public concern. For each speaker, before you begin, please state your name and address. Please keep all comments respectful. I will keep your time at 3 minutes per speaker. And as is the protocol and custom of the board, we will not respond to the comments at the time that they are made. Thank you.
So first we have Jake Elks. We can get Mr. Elks unmuted.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Well, thank you, Madam Chairwoman and commissioners and the general public in attendance. do have a few comments just to make on the NC 43 South plan. I've got a prepared statement here that I emailed out to several of the parties earlier today. During last month's meeting and plan presentation, Mr. Rose urged commissioners to immediately adopt the NC 43 South Quarter Land Use Plan. Several residents, landowners, stakeholders, and some commissioners expressed concern with the plan as written. My wife and I also had questions, and after further reading the plan, we have spelled out broader concerns here. And I am a landowner at 2869 Ivy Road. Forgot to mention that in the beginning. The plan was developed entirely within the period of COVID-19 restrictions. Not only does COVID-19 have the potential to impact influencing factors on this project long-term, such as work from home, in-person retail and commercial services, and traffic generation and trips, but it also reduced the ability and capacity for the public to be informed and engaged in this process. Adoption of the plan should be delayed and to consider the long-term impacts of COVID-19 as influencing factor. And below, and better allow the public to provide feedback. In multiple places, the plan refers to the fact that the sewer is already or is planned to be extended out, and therefore the development is inevitable. Page 56 states this explicitly. The dangerous mentality to plan from and is reactionary planning. This is particularly distressing given that landowners are placed in a new situation with respect to utilities and annexation. Once the sewer utility has been decided to extend and the right-of-way is requested to make use of and gain use of the access to this utility, the landowner must request annexation. At what point does the community or their elected representatives decide in advance of the utility? When does the county proactively plan in advance of infrastructure? Put differently, when does a utility agency stop functioning as the controlling factor of development decisions? Similarly to the utility decision, NCDOT and its decision to widen NC 43 is controlling too much. Flow of autos seem to have been given precedent over agricultural resources in particular. It is noted in the plan that the area has prime farmland and existing farms. There are natural resources and a resource of health for a community, and an economic resource that provides jobs and tax infrastructure, tax revenue without demanding public services. Agriculture is an industry in its own right. The plan is treating it as a placeholder prior to commercial or residential development. Overall, the plan treats the road and utility as determining factors for development while pointing out that the population growth slowed in the prior decade. It accepts greenfield development as inevitable and something to be mitigated with context sensitive elements rather than considering higher density development closer to the existing services, infill development, redevelopment, smaller lots for residential uses in areas that are already served by infrastructure, or multifamily units placed in predominance in single-family housing. The plan sacrifices agriculture in the county for further replicating the sprawl development that has defined Greenville in the recent decades.
If you will wrap up, that's your time, but you may wrap up.
Okay. The Southeast Drainage District has expressed concerns with surface water runoff in the land use plan area. Page 34 states, additionally, development of impervious surfaces cannot be accommodated by existing drainage laterals. Construction of improved drainage infrastructure will be costly and is another aspect of infrastructure that is being expected to follow roadway widening and sewer extensions. How will this cost be addressed? The guiding principles of smart growth are not really being followed by this plan, which appears to be largely to be a reaction to decisions by agencies such as NCDOT and Greenville Utilities, and not a proactive consideration of what best serves the county as a whole. Over the past 20 plus years, development has sprawled out of Greenville, taking over farmland one intersection at a time with already developed areas that are currently served by existing infrastructure, not being used to their full capacity. This plan largely continues the pattern with some mitigation of impacts considered. Stop letting agencies decide to build infrastructure and then allowing sprawling development to chase it. Put in place a more proactive approach for planning in the county and its communities That starts with identification of needs, identifies areas to maintain as farmland or natural areas, and then appropriately site development with respect to the infrastructure. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Keith Cox.
My name is Keith Cox, 2101 Mills Road. As we expressed, there's a lot of people in the community that we just felt like we were really this was really thrown on us at a short period of time. And we just asked that y'all as the county commissioners support us as the people. And because y'all are the only thing that we got. I mean, as far as with this grant with utility stuff that's going on and this sewer line and all this development that's going on. And there were a lot of elderly people that were involved in this that were, I mean, they were basically threatened to have their land condemned, and they mentioned condemning it. And it really, I mean, they just felt like they were being forced to sell the easement for the Greenwood Utility Sewer line. But I just wish all the county commissioners would keep that in mind when making a decision on this tonight. Thank you for your time. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
That's all we have signed up at this time.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Manager. At this time, we will have some presentations. And that the first one is the National County Government Month proclamation, which is this month, April 2021. I believe we need a motion. Do we need it before or after?
Okay, if we can do it afterwards, we've got a couple things we want to do to present to you, and then maybe do the proclamation at the end if you would allow.
Sure.
So as the chairwoman has mentioned, this month is National County Government Month. We have done a number of things to recognize it. We first have a 2-minute video we want to show from NACO that promotes National County Government Month. Then our interim PIO, Carla Hansen, is going to come out and also go through some things we put on our website, a special link to recognize this month, and also activities that we've done in conjunction with NACO to recognize this month. And then if we can end up with hopefully with the adoption of the proclamation at the end, that would be great. So if we can roll the video first.
Counties matter. Counties serve nearly every American every day. Urban, suburban, and rural, counties work with states, the federal government, and other public and private partners to keep our communities healthy, vibrant, and safe. Whether you're commuting to work or shipping goods around the globe, counties matter. And we're involved in nearly a third of public airports and transit systems. Counties matter when Americans need us the most. Counties matter because we support smart, fair, and effective criminal justice systems. We help fund police and sheriff's departments. We own and operate local jails, 911 call centers, and mental health facilities. Counties create healthy communities. We invest more than $80 billion in hospitals and medical services each year. Counties matter because we invest in the lives of residents of all ages, improving their quality of life where they live and work. Counties are the building blocks of state, regional, and national economies. We support housing, recreation, and economic development. And we do so much more. From issuing birth certificates to administering elections. Counties employ more than 3.5 million people. In total, we invest more than $500 billion in our residents and our communities every year. Counties provide essential services we all depend on every day. That's why counties matter.
Great. So at this point, if we can ask Carla Hansen to come on screen and walk us through a link we've put on our website and give us a brief presentation and maybe some additional comments on what we've done to recognize this month.
Sure thing. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, Chairwoman Floyd Huggins. Good evening,
evening.
Commissioners, and good evening, Pitt County. As you've heard, April is National County Government Month, and the National Association of Counties, NACO, is encouraging Pitt County, along with counties across the nation, to celebrate and learn the innovative approaches these workforces provide to our communities every day. As you've seen in the video, there's 303,069 counties across the country, 100 of them in Pitt County alone. The Public Information Office has created a series of informational media posts and messaging to help define and convey to our communities what drives localized efforts to respond and support public needs. Please visit our website, pittcountync.gov/NCGM, and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Pitt County NC. You'll find tons of information regarding interesting facts, meeting dates, and various resource materials available on this website. Initiating these efforts for this Monday and every Monday throughout the month, a Did You Know Fact series will be posted on social media and our website. This post series will highlight a fact specific to Pitt County. As you see today, today's fact is Pitt County has been selected as one of the only 2 Say Yes COVID Tests communities in the United States. The Pitt County Health Department launched its Say Yes COVID Test at Home Testing Challenge, which provides residents of Greenville and Pitt County to access free rapid COVID-19 tests that they can self-administer in the comfort of their home. Continuing on throughout the month, every Tuesday, a 2 for Tuesday, which is 2 questions providing 2 answers post series, will provide insight to additional county departments and services. A preview for tomorrow reads, how can Pitt County Animal Services help me get my pet spayed or neutered? Why is Pitt County Animal Services not called the Pound? Continuing to scroll down, you'll also see we will be housing today's Board of Commissioners meeting, as well as the April 19th meeting in this section. To view all live stream Board of Commissioner meetings, please visit www.youtube.com/Pitt County NC. Users can also access all archived board meetings, such as, but not limited to, our Planning and Development Board, Social Services, and Board of Health. Continuing on our page, in an effort to bolster civic education and educate communities on the role of county government, NACO is launching the I Love My County Because art contest in conjunction with National County Government Month. A total of 6 K-12 based schools plan to participate in this national art contest. The competition submission period opened in December 7, 2020, and closes May 31st, 2021. Which means students still have time to submit artwork. Winning artwork will be featured in an 18-month NACO calendar, which will be distributed to NACO members nationwide. Winners will also be announced in NACO's flagship publication, County News, and their artwork will be displayed at NACO's headquarters in Washington, D.C. Due to this deadline being scheduled after National County Government Month, your Public Information Office, in conjunction with Pitt County Schools, thank you Jane Behan and Preston Bowers, have extended an extra credit opportunity to allow high school civic students to submit a short quick write elaborating off of the prompt, My County Government Matters Because. I would like to share one essay with you now. And if you notice on our page, it's scrolling through the selected essay, which I will read. This essay was submitted by Brandon Barrientos Gonzalez of North Pitt High School. My county government matters because it provides great services which always better improve our lives, even during this pandemic. Pitt County, during the pandemic, is doing everything to help their citizens. They are working hard to get us COVID-19 vaccines. They are providing us information on their website to help stay safe. They handled COVID-19 rules and regulation in a high standard to keep us safe. Pitt County not only handles the pandemic well, it makes the lives and the environment safe and welcoming. There are parks, there are more small businesses, more college and continuing education programs that are affordable that give you a well-paying job. Pitt County gives you the opportunity to raise a family and grow a business in a safe and adequate environment to better your family's life. While the pandemic is currently active, Pitt County continues to provide ways to keep our minds at ease while providing ways to stay safe. Parks and trails are a good way to release stress due to problems at home or with the virus. All parks and trails provided to you by Pitt. Pitt County offers many ways to live your life during this time. It allows you to pay your bills from home, allows you to pay your taxes from home, and if you can't pay your taxes on time, it allows you to have extensions. No wonder Greenville, which is Pitt County's largest city, was named one of the best places to live with the continuous efforts of Pitt and its people. I know we can defeat this virus and return to normal. Throughout this month, additional essays will be housed under this section. Scrolling a little further down, a section titled Reading Resources, where you'll see several links to various budget publications our finance department works so hard on every year. Users will also find a link to our Stay Connected ad, which Public Information Office produces the weekend before every Board of County Commissioners meeting to include the meeting agenda. Additional reading material we have housed here is our news flash section, and this includes verbiage from up-to-date press release information distributed. Almost at the end here, a section regarding volunteerism. The Meals on Wheels program has expanded, delivering 325 meals a day to 360 meals a day, with 180 adults currently remain on a waiting list. Links to volunteer for the Council on Aging or Vidant Medical Center can be found under this section. Of course, you can always contact the Public Information Office for more details. And then to finish out our website, our webpage, awareness regarding county efforts can continue beyond the month of April. NACO, in partnership with iCivics, has even developed a game to help younger generations learn how counties work. We've also housed an activity book titled My County Works. And as far as the website, that's all we have today, but please return throughout the month of April to learn more about how Pitt County works.
So with that, Madam Chairwoman, if we'll take any questions, or if the board wanted to entertain adopting the proclamation, if you'd like us to read it, or we can let it stand as presented in the packet.
Okay. Do we have any questions? Is that what you? Yeah.
Commissioner Ward?
Are we Commissioner Ward? Commissioner Ward?
Yes, ma'am. If there are no further discussion to the proclamation, I would like to move that we accept it.
Commissioner Perkins Williams, I saw your name. I mean, your hand.
She's muted.
Lord, I forget unmuting. Madam Chairman, thank you. I'd like to second that motion.
Okay, thank you. It's been moved and second that we adopt or approve the National County Government Month proclamation. Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner McGlawhorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. And we will move to the next presentation. We are recognizing Eagle Scouts. Mr. Manager, I believe we need a motion also to.
Yes, Madam Chairwoman, if you'd like to take the motion first, then I can read them second, or either way.
Okay.
Motion to approve, Madam Chair.
Second it.
Okay, it's been moved and second that we approve the recognition of these young men for Eagle Scouts. Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner McGlawhorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
So Madam Chairwoman, if I can read quickly the names and the projects of the young men and their troops. We first have Ian Meredith with Troop 340. And each of these certificates is entitled Certificate of Appreciation is awarded to. Actually, I'll show the certificate if I can on the screen. Is awarded to Ian Meredith for achieving the Eagle Scout Award. For his project, he built a large and amazing astronomy deck at the Oakwood School. This is presented by the Pitt County Board of Commissioners this 5th day of April, 2021, signed by our chairwoman, Ann Floyd Huggins. For our second recognition, we're recognizing Nathan Thomas Redmond. He is with Troop 340. For his project, he constructed and installed 3 little libraries in strategic locations in the Greenville area. Again, the certificate is identical to the first one we read, other than the name of the project. For the third one, we have Gabriel Garman, Troop 9. For his project, he constructed a lean-to shed for outdoor cooking at his church, which is Hickory Grove Church. For our last Eagle Scout recognition, we have Nicholas Lane Letchworth. For his project, he completed several raised beds and adjacent benches at the community garden in Farmville. So that is our last recognition, and we'll make sure these young men receive their certificates.
Thank you. We certainly want to congratulate our Public Information Department for the fine work they are doing to highlight what our county matters, and also getting the schools involved in it. Really want to commend them for the work that they are doing to highlight this month's National County Government Month. We want to say again, congratulations to the young men for their Eagle Scouts, for their projects. And also we always look forward to seeing young men come and before us, and when they have attained their Eagle Scout badges or whatever recognition that they get for that. We will now move on to the EMS system update. Mr. Manager, do you have anything to say before Randy comes on?
Yes, ma'am, if I can. I'll turn it over to Randy Gentry, our Emergency Management Director, in just a moment. But this presentation or update is at a request of the board earlier, actually a little while back. You had 2 requests. One was on the EMS system, and one was on recycling, a formal presentation. So we're bringing this presentation to you tonight. We'll be coming to you with a formal presentation on recycling with a glass component, and I'm happy to report that the glass will be part of it next meeting on the April 19th. But with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Gentry, and he's got a PowerPoint presentation to run through with you. Hopefully.
Good evening, Chairwoman Floyd Huggins and Commissioners. Thank you for this time. And I'll take a few minutes to go through our EMS system update. As a part of the overview, the North Carolina General Statute gives the county the responsibility to provide EMS to all citizens. And through this single EMS system design and with all the providers within, that's every EMS in Pitt County, the contracted squads, the Pitt County squads, as well as Greenville Fire Rescue. We also have oversight over the non-E franchises and the 911 operators for the emergency medical dispatch. To give a little historical perspective, EMS system has remained constant. In the earlier days, service was provided by Greenville Rescue Squad, and then we had the incorporation of volunteer squads that were developed throughout the community in Pitt County. And the community-centered model is the design of the current system and has remained unchanged since the beginning, a community-based housed EMS buildings. As a part of the system through the early years, volunteerism and community service was the main way that we provided the EMS service. Pitt County has a rich tradition through this volunteer service. And just as a note, Eastern Pines Rescue in the late 80s was the first all volunteer paramedic rescue squad east of Raleigh. And the county should always recognize the importance of what volunteers meant to our system in our early years and what they contributed to our county. And we do recognize that fully volunteer EMS is no longer provided in Pitt County. Our system is made up with 8 nonprofit contracted squads, the Greenville Fire Rescue Squad, and we have 2 operated Pitt County squads, the Bethel and Pactolus, as well as we have a peak time unit that is housed in the Simpson area. And we also have a community paramedic program, and then we provide the emergency medical dispatch in our 911 system center. Over the years since 1991, we've had 4 different studies that studied our EMS system, the last being in 2008. The common theme throughout all 4 of the studies were that we needed to standardize our personnel and equipment, have more county involvement, that the system is too fragmented, and the response times for the units are different because of where they're physically placed in the county, and that the volunteer pool is shrinking and that our costs are continuing to increase. Some of the progress we've made that was pointed out in some of the studies was that the county now owns county-owned fleet, and it's the county's responsibility to make sure that the ambulances are replaced on a regular interval based on service and mileage. We've added AVL, the automatic vehicle location, for dispatch to closest unit. So we don't have a district system anymore. It's all based on where the trucks are located in relation to the call for service. And then we have a peak time ambulance that I mentioned earlier that is in the Simpson area, but we can move it around anywhere in our system to backfill units that are busy in other places, or if they're busy on a call, we can move our peak time truck around to backfill for service. Pitt County is responsible for the accountability for all the agencies and personnel, the provisions of service across the county, the 911 call response, which is the medical and operational performance of the system, the non-E franchises, and we also we assist outside agencies, the health department, federal and state partners, and our health preparedness coalition and Vidant Medical Center. Pitt County provides paramedic level care throughout the entire county, and we're funded by an EMS service district tax and transport billing fees, but it does not include the billings or the tax in the Greenville city limits. This map represents the EMS system for Pitt County. The red area indicates Greenville city limits. And I would point out that as the city continues to grow and that red keeps getting larger, that takes the tax service dollars away from the county and goes into the Greenville system.
Randy, can you go back to that last screen?
Yes, sir.
Just want to point out that, so the map on the left illustrates formally how we've got 10 different, beyond the city of Greenville in the red, the 10 different former EMS response districts. But as Randy had alluded to, the map on the right now shows really we have one response district, and that being the entire county minus Greenville. And you have the location marked with the blue plus signs showing the different stations. So we no longer does a EMS squad really respond within their own shaded area on the left. They're now via the AVL, the automatic vehicle locator system, are technically responding within Pitt County, not Pitt County being the district, not a sub-district within Pitt County. Thank you.
Yeah, yes, and that's correct. So when the call comes in, wherever that address is, the system is looking for a truck, not a building. So wherever that truck is what the system is recognizing what is the closest unit to the call. Pitt County provides to the contracted squads an ambulance at no cost to the squad, with the exception of Winterville Rescue and Eastern Pines, and it's their choice to have their own trucks. We provide ambulances for all the contracted squads as well as the Pitt County squads. The cardiac monitors that are on each truck, and they're about $40,000 a piece. We provide the billing and collection service for the EMS system, as well as the collecting the taxes for the system. We provide the charting software and the computers that everyone uses to chart the calls, and provides the information for the billing as well as what they did on the call. Pitt County provides the operational funding as well as the communications equipment, the radios and the MDTs. And there it is again, mobile data terminals and all the trucks that we provide, as well as the AVL and the emergency medical dispatch. Pitt County also provides the workers' compensation coverage for all of the paramedics in the system. So one point there is for every EMS or every paramedic, every squad that they work for, that's an additional coverage that we provide for each squad, even though it may be the same member at 4 squads. And we provide medical oversight through our medical director, Dr. Patella. Some of the efficiencies we've gained since some of the studies is the fleet standardization and the replacement. County owns all the ambulances, and I pointed out earlier, except for the 2 squads that choose to purchase their own vehicles. Another efficiency is we've added the AVL in the last 2 years, and it's really a plus that we're able to dispatch the closest unit and not having to rely on dispatching from a building. The standardized tax rate across the county is another efficiency we've gained in our system. And then we have the internal billing specialist here at the county that handles the billing for our system. Our patient reporting has become more efficient with a new software program that we put in place about 2 years ago. And it's very accountable to each and every call, so we can keep up and make sure we're billing correctly. Our major supplies, our medical director has helped us streamline and have a standardized list of medical equipment, so we can gain some efficiency in buying the same product and trying to being able to get a better price because we're buying more of it. And then the efficient dispatch control, we changed in dispatch practice for the peak time units, where prior to our peak time truck, we were having to have Greenville assist us to come out into the county. And for the last 12 months, we've nearly had 100% decrease in having the Greenville come out into the county. So we're able to cover our calls with our peak time unit. And some of our inefficiencies that we've recognized is the duplication of administration. Every contracted squad has their own leadership structure. Every contracted squad has a chief or an assistant chief. One of the other inefficiencies is trying to be accountable to our citizens if we do have a complaint or some type of issue. If it's with a contracted squad, we don't have direct oversight of over those employees. And then we have a duplication of costs where each squad orders some supplies, and we're not able to streamline those orderings and keep up with the rotation of the stock. And if we were fortunate at some point to have like a logistics or a quartermaster type person in our system where they would do all of the ordering of supplies, we could streamline that and control our cost in that manner. Some more inefficiencies that we've recognized is the system status management. The number of units on the road at one time. Right now, there's every contracted squad in our county squads, there's always a truck on duty 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And because of the way they're based, we don't have the ability to move the trucks around as we need. And also there's some areas that don't require 24-hour coverage. We could cover with a peak time unit based on the calls for service and the population in that area. Logistics, as far as uniforms and buying PPE and other standard equipment, is hard to streamline with the current model. And I mentioned earlier about the workman's compensation, where it's duplicate coverage throughout multiple policies, because, like I said, if there's a paramedic that works at 3 different stations, we have to have a different workman's comp coverage for each station. So it could be multiples of the paramedics. And stations relying on the same pool of paramedics. We have multiple paramedics that work at multiple stations. And one of the examples, if we have to call back our paramedics on a storm, say in the fall, if we call back our personnel, it could shut down some of the contracted squads because it's the same paramedics working at multiple stations. And then fleet management. While the county owns its fleet, it's unrealistic to manage or age out vehicles because each station has 2 trucks. And it's just hard to move them around because everybody thinks they should have or should always have 2 trucks. This graph is just based on the dollars that the county gives each of the squads versus the number of calls. And you can see from left to right, the busiest squad to some of the slower squads. The Simpson peak time truck is rolled in with the Bethel and the Pactolus. It's not a 24-hour station, but they responded to 694 calls during this time period.
So Randy, just to maybe highlight this slide a little more. So looking at Aden on the far left, you can see that in this period of time, 12 months, they ran 1,800 calls at a cost of $243 per call. And you go all the way across to the other extreme. The Fountain EMS station ran 411 calls at the cost of $1,763 per call. Then you can see in between the variation of how the other squads performed.
At our current tax rate, as of last year, we're approaching 6 cents. It's 0.0595 is where we are presently. This graph represents the year-end revenue compared to expenses started in 2015. I would like to point out that the year 2020 includes $425,000 of general fund transfer into the EMS fund balance. But our expenses continue to go up as well. Since our new software, our revenue is beginning to rise because we're able to capture every call, and that is the new software has improved our billing and collections tremendously.
So Randy, one more comment on that slide. If you had one more column that said 2021, which would be a projected through June 30th of this year, we would hope to see the red line and the blue line pretty much matching one overlaid over the other, since you did raise the EMS tax to 5.95 cents to bring additional revenue into the system.
So why are we here? How to improve service to the citizens under current financial situation? There was an increase in tax last year. We are not seeking a tax increase this year. And we've implemented and identified efficiencies under the current system structure. Just wanted to point out that other counties have been in a similar situation where they've had to make adjustments, and they've all experienced similar system changes in this fiscal year. They have right-sized their system. We need to do this so we'll be able to recruit and retain talented professionals, and it requires adjustment to our current delivery model. So we need new ideas and options that we can explore to improve the service to the citizens. Some upcoming capital needs, we're going to need to continue to replace our ambulances and our QRVs, our quick response vehicles. In 2 to 3 years, we'll be having to replace our cardiac monitors. And then we need to always be looking at our space and our buildings, so we have adequate storage for our equipment, personnel, and supplies. 2004 was the last time we had built any EMS stations. And then most importantly, we need to make sure that we're putting stations in the right place based on population growth, and making sure that our system is meeting the needs of the population growth throughout the county. Also, one of the things we need to be keeping on our mind is our medical direction. The cost of physician leadership for our system. We'll need to examine the actual cost of the partnership. And as our system continues to grow, we'll always need to be mindful of that. Currently, we have an agreement with East Carolina University and Vidant Medical Center, but we just always need to keep on our mind that may not always be there, or there may be some changes to the model. And our technology needs are ever changing. Computers have to be replaced. The AVL system will need to be replaced, and all the things that go along with that, such as the batteries and other medical devices, have to be replaced on a regular basis. Currently, Pitt County EMS relies on a strong relationship with Vidant Medical Center for most of our disposable supplies and medications. And we appreciate that, but we always need to be mindful of what it actually costs to run our system. Need to consider an operations or logistics officer for the system, so we can keep up with all of our supplies, make sure we're purchasing them as best we can, and to monitor our supply usage. We need to consider professional development for recruitment and retention, and to keep our paramedics motivated and highly trained. Pitt County has performed at an acceptable level with the current system structure and the issues created within, but we know it's not feasible to continue to ask for tax increases and to operate at the status quo. We need to find ways to enhance and improve our basic level of service to our citizens and optimize performance, along with the fiscal responsibility that could be gained by implementing an innovative approach moving forward. Our system has basically remained unchanged since 2008, which was the last study, the Fitch study. EMS provision cost increasing with very few volunteers to pull from, and that all of our rescue squads are using paid personnel to staff first out units. And Pitt County is continuing to grow rapidly. So where do we go from here? Do we consider a system realignment and looking for direction to go from here? If there's any questions or comments.
Yes, I see Commissioner Albright's hand.
Yes, thank you very much for the report and for all the good work that your folks do. I'm just wanting for a little clarification. When you're looking at the cost per call, how is that cost per call passed on to consumers, and opposed to how the county is covering it? Now, I'm looking at that discrepancy there and wondering if someone, say in Fountain, is being billed for that amount, or if that is actually costing the county that much more than what's happening in other communities. And just looking for some clarity on that. Thank you.
Sure, I'll probably have to take that one. So the tax plus the fare revenue pays for the entire system. So everybody across Pitt County, other than the city of Greenville, pays the 5.95 cents per $100 tax. So that plus any fares that are collected countywide, I guess in effect subsidizes the high cost of the $1,800, $1,700 per call that is in Fountain. And likewise, I guess if you go to the other extreme in Aden, you could say the Aden, who's at $243, whatever that number was, I guess you could say from a transport revenue point of view, they're subsidizing other areas that are more high cost.
So in essence, are citizens paying basically the same for the same services throughout the system is kind of what my question is.
Via the tax, yes.
But I'm talking about the per call cost. If someone,
yes,
yes,
sir. So okay. Whether when we bill a paramedic call, and Randy, you can probably tell us how much those charges are. I don't have that off the top of my head. But yeah, we pay the same fare revenue is
Okay,
charged
thank
across
you.
the entire county.
Okay, thank you very much. And thanks again.
$300 for a BLS call.
Okay, thank you very much.
Commissioner White.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gentry. I'm sure we've all had family members or friends that have relied on EMS service. So this is a very important service to our county. I've had some concerns brought to my attention. For example, Ayden, Winterville, and Eastern Pines have very high call volumes, especially in comparison with some of our other EMS squads. And I understand, why they get the same amount so that every citizen receives fair and adequate EMS service, which every citizen deserves fair and adequate EMS service. But there is some concern about some of these higher call volume EMS squads getting the same amount of funding as some of the lower call volume EMS squads. Because if, for example, Ayden is out on a call and somebody in the Ayden area calls in and the nearest EMS truck is a ways away, every minute is critical. So I do think that we at least need to look into some options for getting some of our higher call volume squads more funding.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
She's muted.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Okay, I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Gentry, for your presentation. I have some I have a lot of questions, but the one that jumps out has to do with community. You said something about community volunteer. Just what does that mean as it relates to the community? That's one. And then the one with the two, I have a question about the two maps with the red stuff on it and the blue stuff.
I believe I referred to a community-based system where initially the squads were set up in a particular community. Such as, you've got a Falkland Rescue, a Fountain Rescue, Farmville, Eastern Pines, Winterville. The community-based model is what we operate off of now.
In the past, 20 years ago, you may have had majority or more of the squad be truly volunteers in the community, just like a volunteer firefighter or such, who when the call came in or the pager went off, they would get in an ambulance and go run the call as a volunteer service. But over the past 20 years, we've seen that drastically reduced to almost nothing. We still have some, I don't want to say there's not, but not to any degree or scale. The far majority are paid personnel who are paid an hourly wage to run those calls and be the staff for that squad. So you have 8 nonprofits, and then you have the county's 2 squads that are actually county employees in those 2 squads.
And they are all trained the same or whatever.
Yes, they're all paramedic level service.
Paramedic paid.
Okay, my next question deal with the map with the 2, with the red line and I have a question about the red spot sitting way out there by itself for Greenville.
Yes, ma'am.
So
if you can put that one.
Let me take that one. So obviously you've got on the, you can put that back up, Randy. So you got the map on the right is the easiest one to see. The red area represents the corporate limits of the city of Greenville. The North Carolina general statutes allow a municipality to have a certain percentage of their area within their core contiguous area of a city limit to be non-contiguous in terms of a satellite annexation. So if you see in the southeast part of the southeast down from the city of Greenville, the annexation, I guess that's probably the Mills Road area, that it would be a satellite annexation. And I've inquired of the city and they say that they are well within the percentage of acres that they can have as satellite. They say they're nowhere near touching it. Now, when they do annex those areas, they then are responsible for service provision to those areas.
So the one down in the lower facing us right is served by the city? Is it counted in as a city?
Yes, that would be within the city of Greenville, and they would be responsible either for directly providing services to that area or contracting with other entities who would be willing to back them up. Randy, you might be able to add something more to that.
You were spot on, Manager. Greenville would respond, or either they would have some type of an agreement with the county system to respond to those outlying areas.
What area is that anyway?
The larger red dot there in the south, I believe, is the Hudson's Crossroad area, or the Mills Road, Hudson's Crossroad intersection.
That's way down there by itself.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, I'm curious because when you make a 911 call, you want the unit to get to you as soon as possible. I realize it's not an area that I'm as familiar with as I am riding this area district all the time, but it seems like it would take some time for a squad to get down there, thinking about the roads and stuff, because I did go out there recently. And that concerns me that the citizen may not get the same kind of quick service.
Yes, ma'am. Within the last 30 days, we've changed our dispatch protocol so that if it was a cardiac arrest in that area, regardless of whether it's in the city or the county, the closest AVL truck would be dispatched to a cardiac arrest.
And bleeding and other stuff.
We would, if Greenville had a long response time to an outlying area, and our dispatchers were aware of that, we would send the closest truck.
Okay. In your inefficiency, will we get a report anytime soon about how you plan to correct those?
I can prepare a report, but I'm hoping to get some direction from the board on the entire system.
So there's really a choice as to whether you want to keep the system as is and face the potential of tax increases, not this year, as Mr. Gentry mentioned, but possibly down the line. Or we can look at, if you direct us, we've been here before. This is, I think in my tenure with the county, time number 4 that we've talked about the system. I said after the first 3 times, I'd never come back with this, but you asked us to come back, so we're back number 4. If you want us to looking at ways to make the system more efficient, we can bring back a menu of options for you to consider, but we really need your input to direct us so that we're not just out there on our own on this.
Well, my question is: there a board that consult? Is there a board for EMS?
Yes, you have the EMS Oversight Committee.
Then it seems to me that the recommendations are they through the various municipalities and that they confer with him, because it seems like there may be a possibility of duplication.
Yeah, he already said that.
Well, I mean,
so in
there's
a
no
board
duplication. I mean, the city of Greenville is the only entity technically that runs its own service. You do have Aden and you do have Winterville, your municipalities, but they're in concert with the county in terms of a joint municipal county squad. So Randy, I don't think we really have true duplication, do we?
No.
We may have some squads who are not performing as efficiently as others. You know, maybe we look at, instead of having maybe a lower performing squad, maybe if the call volume is down, maybe we look at something like a peak hour demand response unit for that squad, not have it be 24/7. And maybe you have you backup resources, reallocate the resources around the county to more evenly balance it. You probably saw on the map in the south, the far southeast part of the county, there are no squads located. So there's just a number of options we could look at, or we can keep the system as is and just realize that eventually we'll need to come back and ask for a tweaking, more likely up of that EMS tax rate to provide the resources needed to continue the system as as the status quo, as Randy said in his presentation.
Okay, well, that's all my questions, but I'm very weary about that, about that system. That I had a lot of questions as he was going through with it. But maybe when we get another report and see a consensus on those because that was a lot of inefficiencies.
Well, we really need to know if you want a report. That's why we're here. We're asking the question, do you want us to further research this and bring this back to you? And obviously we'd run it through the EMS Oversight Committee at the same time, or are you satisfied, I guess, with the status quo is kind of what.
It looks like to me that some more eyes need to be on it. There's a lot of inefficiencies, and a board would look at those and bring a report back. It will feel better, but I don't know what to say. I've not been on the Board of Commissioners as long as Beth and Melvin, but when people call, I want them to get the quickest service possible and at as efficiency as possible. But that's,
Thank you. Commissioner Ward?
Yes, I have a couple of questions, and then I want to make a statement about where we are now and maybe what we need to be looking to do. How long have we been responding with the truck that was closest, realizing that other trucks would go to the event along with that one? Can somebody answer that? Does that make sense?
AVL's been a part of our system for about 2 years. I'm not sure
Okay.
I really follow the tail end of that question.
Well, that was it. In other words, tell everyone what the AVL means.
It's a device that's on each truck, and it's computer generate a GPS location of that truck. So when the 911 receives a call and gets the address, it recognizes the closest ambulance that's on duty to the address that the person needs the ambulance to respond to.
Right. And how long have we been doing that, Mr. Gentry?
Almost 2 years.
Okay. I wasn't sure that everyone realized we were doing that. And I just kind of, it's not so much it may be not the closest station to wherever the event takes place, but who can respond the quickest. Do we purchase any vehicles for the two stations that buy their own?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I didn't think we did. Now, the proposal I want us to just think about, I'm not necessarily making a recommendation, but Scott, you and Randy may want to get together and come back. But how many years ago has it been since we had the large committee that we met for almost, I don't remember how long we met, 3 to 4 months to come up with what we're doing now with some tweaks?
About 13 years.
Okay, I wonder if it's time to get a group together. And I know you've got the EMS committee, but I wonder if we need to expand it a little bit, include some other people, and maybe come up with some recommendations related to some of these things we're talking about. I'm just asking what you all think.
By the board, yes, ma'am.
Do you think that it's a good idea, though, is what I'm saying? I mean, I think what we heard tonight is usually what we hear at budget time, but I think we're also hearing some other things also. So, I mean, I'm just wondering if it's a time for us to do that. And maybe it's something we want to talk further about and then maybe come back with either a plan or no plan.
I would task the EMS Oversight Committee and staff, us as staff, to study this and bring it back if that's the will of the board. I mean, I think you've got the committee in place. You might find that the Oversight Committee may embrace this wholeheartedly, or they may lean more towards status quo. But in any respect, we as staff, if the board directed us, would bring back a menu of options for you to consider.
Well, I think either way, if they wanted to leave it status quo, that would be fine. if the board agrees. And I'm not looking to change it. I think that we're in a better place than we've been since I've been here. But if there are things that we need to look at and to help and to improve, I think that we could use that committee that's already in place to maybe have presentations made to them and have them come back with some recommendations for us.
Yes.
So, I mean, I don't think I have to make a motion like that, or can we just?
Not yet. Let's hear from other commissioners. Commissioner Colson. Commissioner Colson.
Okay. First off, I'm totally happy with the system that we have now, and I don't think it's necessary to make any changes or have a report on it. That's my 2 cents worth. But I'd like to make a comment about something that Scott made a reference to on Mary's question that had to do with the satellite zoning. It's my understanding, this is a question for Janice, I guess, as much as anything, in your copious amounts of free time. Could you report back to us commissioners so we have good understanding as to whether what I'm about to say is correct? It was my understanding that the last term that Senator Basnight was in office is satellite zoning changed. It used to be that cities were bound to no more than 20% of their contiguous limits in satellite zoning. But in his last term, that was changed to unlimited. And that to me is dangerous. But in any case, if you don't mind, because I think all of us need to know whether or not that's really true.
I'll be happy to do that research and report back to the board.
All right, thank you. No further questions or comments.
Commissioner Nunley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Mr. Gentry, for your report. Just my 2 cents on this. Randy, you've been in charge now just for a few years. I think tenure's still relatively new as a director, and I'm most interested to hear and see the direction that you would like and your team would like EMS and how they can make improvements internally. You all the professionals on the ground and know what's there. And so from my perspective, whether or not we need to have a report or not, I'm most interested to know what you feel and your team feels is the best way to have the best system in the county. I think that's, for me, that's the direction that the policy needs to come from the professionals. That's just my 2 cents on it. But thank you for your hard work and diligence.
Thank you.
Mr. Gentry, like Mary, I heard I heard that we were inefficient in some ways that concerned me. Duplication. I heard duplication, and I don't, know why we cannot. That we have duplication of buying equipment, the PPEs and all of the things that you mentioned that we're duplicating. And I think if we could, pool all of that, and that would save some money, wouldn't it?
Yes, ma'am. It sure would.
And
it's just
so,
evolved over the years.
Beg your pardon?
It's just the duplication has evolved over the years, and it's one of the things that we need to look at to see about trying to streamline some of those processes.
Yeah, and as Commissioner Nunley said, you all are the experts at it, and he said he was looking to you all for advice, and I think that's what you're giving us now. You told us some things that we need to do. And from what I'm hearing is that, it's not the same. Business, it shouldn't be business as usual, that we will, times have changed, way of doing things. So we should look for a better way of of serving the citizens of Pitt County, saving money, but in the meantime, providing quick service and efficient service to our citizens. So, you know, you're saying to us that we need to do something. That's what I'm getting from this. It looks, another idea is, this is a, you know, I talked about a retreat. This is a retreat item that we could hash out. But in itself, we could ask you to come back and work with the oversight committee and come back with some more with ways of making those changes that you are suggesting, rather. I see Commissioner White hand again. Commissioner White, you have something else to say?
Yes, ma'am. I was just going to have my hand up. I know Scott said that he was looking for guidance or direction, I guess, from us. I mean, I think we should at least consider some new proposals or new ideas to more effectively spend the EMS tax dollars. If there are ways that we're inefficient, I do think it would be a good idea to at least consider some other options. So I would be in favor of Mr. Gentry coming back with input from county staff and EMS oversight committee, and maybe even a couple chiefs from the EMS squads around the county, get some of their inputs and concerns as well, and come back with some new ideas for us to at least consider or hear about.
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins, I have one other thing I needed to, I've been speaking to one of the commissioners earlier today on EMS. Wanted to report out onto you one of the legislative goals regarding EMS that you adopted, and that was it was a new one. It was entitled Authorize the Use of Attachment and Garnishment for the Collection of Delinquent Ambulance Service Accounts. It did check, had legal staff check and provide an update on this, and we did find that a Senate bill has been introduced by Senator Don Davis. This would allow us to mimic, or to, I guess, to attach on to the Union County bill that would allow us to do this. And it doesn't mean that we have to do it. It just means it would be a tool in the toolkit for us to do it. Again, that was a goal that you asked us to pursue, and that has been referred to the Rules and Operations of the Senate, I guess, subcommittee of the Senate.
But that's just on collection.
Yes.
Yeah, that's just a collection. That doesn't address the other inefficiencies
No, ma'am.
that he's mentioning. So do we need a motion to have him come back with some more information, meet with the oversight committee and staff and all? So is that the directions we want to go in?
Madam Chairwoman, I would recommend it so that the EMS Oversight Committee will understand their charge as well as our charge as staff, if you do want us to go down this road, per se.
Okay, so I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Commissioner Perkins Williams, I see your hand.
She's gonna make the motion. I was gonna second it because I do want it to come back.
Okay, all right. It's been moved in second that we direct Mr. Gentry to meet with the oversight committee, meet with staff, and come back with some other options for us to look at. Did someone say something?
Now, I just think something concrete and specific, and I think we need to consider that along with his budget planning with the manager.
Okay. All right. I had a second. So, Madam Clerk.
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
I acquiesce, yes.
Commissioner McGlaughlin,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes, definitely.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I believe our next item is Community Resource Center. We have Pastor Rodney Cole coming before us. He was here at last year, I believe. And it's always good to have our partners come back and let us know what they're doing, what they have done rather, especially with the funds that we gave them. So Scott, do you have anything to say before Pastor Cole comes?
No, just that the two presentations for Pastor Coles and then Paul Dunn with Lutheran Services Carolinas, these are just meant to be brief reports as to the activities that they're doing. So we can just hear from each of those. One will follow the other.
Yes. Yes. No action taken on them, but just a presentation.
Correct.
Pastor Cole?
Okay.
Are you there?
I'm there. I was waiting for the go. First, I want to thank the commissioners for giving me the opportunity to update them regarding the Community Resource Center. This is a commercial place that's funded by United Way Pitt County, as well as the City of Greenville and Churches Outreach Network. We opened the center, it was opened on October the 16th, where we did the ribbon cutting here at 1067 Brompton Lane. We have received approximately about 130 pallets of mixed PEs. We also brought pallets in for the Boys and Girls Club, over 20 pallets for them to hold here at this location and be shipped to the Boys and Girls Club. We also have 3 new partner agencies that have been added on along with us, and that is Bed Bath and Beyond. They sent us 10 pallets of what's called blow-up beds, pillows, comfort sets, and we was able at least to help 30 families, and we still have some of that here. So that is working with the Red Cross, working with the Salvation Army, working with the Housing Authority, those of us had in need of emergency. And we just got a new young lady inside the community crossroad. Her name is Ms. Wanda. So she'll be working on getting some of this stuff as well. She just came to our area here. We also have a partnership with Asher Furniture right now. Actually found an outlet, they bring it directly to us. We do a referral slip with them. We have helped 9 families to be able to get the stuff to them. We also have a partnership with the North Carolina Food Bank, which we're able to provide food for the agencies as well as here. And we also added new partners, was the veterans. So we do veterans every Tuesday. We do 80 boxes to the veterans that they get those boxes. Even though the boxes are being made out at St. John Missionary Baptist Church, but the boxes are come down to the resource center because it's close to get ahead and distribute it out. We also are now working along with churches. We have like 6 churches going to be helping me do home delivery. And that is something we're putting in place. We just purchased an app to do that. And that is coming up in June. I hope I'm not talking too fast. I know I only had 10 minutes. So if I got to repeat myself, it's all right. Also to give an update of at the facility we use for Toys for Tots, Pitt County, we did 29,803 children last year. To God be the glory. It was a lot of work, and we had 2 of our main partners was unable to help us last year, but to God be the glory, we were still able to provide that many toys, and we got it done for a 2020 campaign. We also set up an advisory committee, so we kind of meet up and bring up new ideas and some of the leaders, and doing report and find out what's more of the needs in the community, and that's what we've been doing. Just also to give an update, we have 53 partner agencies. All of them have to do an MOU as well as a copy of their 501(c)(3). And then we also have a sheet that they have to do, right there, all the stuff they have, what they take out inside the facility. And we have a file here. We have a camera on here and watch the files here. So we have 53 agencies is along with us. To kind of talk about something new, what we're doing at the facility, I'm waiting for a truck is on the way here now, is that we are working, I'll let Dr. John Silvermill speak more about that, but we are we are doing the Corona-19 home kits. We're getting 5,000 coming to this facility. We have 36 that I picked up today. I got a truck on the way. We're going to have 5,000 kits here, and they're going to be given to the agencies that we are working with. That's coming from Duke University is paying for that, as well as there's an agency that is coming from Durham. So that is something that we're doing. There's a place to be used for that. We also have waiting for, there's a load of masks coming down. We are short of masks. We have one pallet left. We have plenty of sanitizer. We also have some face shields on its way, as well as disinfect. So those are some of the reports, what we have been doing. We've been still doing the app. They make an appointment. We had the place sanitized here. And so they get the stuff by appointments only. And that's how we've been doing. So just give an update what we've been doing here at the Resource Center, and it's continued growing. And again, we have some new partnerships. Any questions for me?
Well, thank you so much, Pastor Cole, for what you do in the community. We know you wear a lot of hats and everything, but we really appreciate what you do. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Manager, I think we have Paul Dunn next.
Hey, can
Madam
you hear me?
Chairwoman, can we ask Rodney? I don't want to hold mic. Excuse me, Mr. Dunn. I'm so sorry. I like to ask Mr. Cole my question I have written over here on the side before you come in, because I don't want to cross up my question for you with my question for him. Can I take them one at a time, Madam Chairwoman?
All right. All right. You have a question for Pastor Cole?
Yeah,
Pastor Cole, are you still on?
If he get off the call, I won't be able to get any answers from him.
Pastor Cole, are you still on?
Yeah, I'm still here.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Pastor Cole. I appreciate what you do. I heard you say in this presentation that you are going to be delivering food to, see, I missed it already. Food to church, to places all around, to people in the community. Is this the same kind of stuff that they're doing at the counter of the agent, or is this hot food, or is this cold food, or what?
Is the boxes behind me. ABC Storage provide boxes for us to make. These are boxes from Donald and Ronald Taylor. So there's non-perished food that is going to be, we're working on setting that up to be delivered. Non-perished, there ain't gonna be no meat in the box, but they are canned food in there, like tuna fish, salmon in a can, all on non-perished food.
Thank you. How are you going about getting where they'll be delivered to?
We created an app, and this is taking place in June. So that would be the advisors committee, how we're setting it up. I'd be more than glad to do another presentation. Well, at least I can also send it on an e-blast. So this is what they're still setting up.
You have 53 agencies. How many counties do you serve?
Well, this is Pitt County I'm speaking about.
Or you just being my Pitt County in this?
Pitt County, yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I just want to know, because
how many counties I work with?
I'll be able to see you all about sometime. All right, my next question was, when people burn out, do you carry food, supplies, furniture, and the like to these people when they burn out or something or whatever?
That goes to the Red Cross. You know, we do have the disaster recovery for Pitt County. That still exists. We just had a meeting last week. So, you know, we all sit at a round table. The disaster recovery that took place when Matthew happened. So, and everything that goes to the Red Cross and the Salvation Army, we give them the stuff. They're part of the partner agencies.
I do know that I've been on some of your calls, but I don't really get a chance to ask you questions. So this is why you're getting them now.
You can always call me.
I want you to know that's why you're getting them. Because I don't get a chance to ask you questions in your meeting. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you again. Mr. Dunn, you're on.
Thank you. Hey, my name's Paul Dunn. I'm with Lutheran Services Carolinas Disaster Services. Our small but mighty team is responsible for disaster recovery, helping our neighbors in need for all of North Carolina and all of South Carolina. I'm proud to say that I live in Pitt County, and my amazing teammate, Ms. Ilham Thurston, is also a resident of Pitt County. And tonight, I'm not going to give you a bunch of stats and items like that. I'm going to tell you a story about community collaboration. And telling you this story is not about taking away grace from the efforts. It's to inspire, motivate, and let people know that your theme tonight is perfect. Counties matter. This county matters, and you guys are stepping up. I'm watching a lot of people up here all dressed and dignified and great leaders that you are. But I also see you in the community. Manager Elliott does own shorts. He does have a t-shirt. I've seen him out there helping youth. Miss Ward, the same thing. There's too many I'm going to forget. Mr. Rose, he's always helping our neighbors in need. Mr. Gentry, we collaborate with him a lot. I'm even proud to say that Lutheran Services Carolinas was able to connect Pastor Rodney with FEMA contacts. We filled his warehouse multiple times. So for that, there are a lot of people helping him, and for that, I'm very excited. Here's what I get to do tonight in only a couple of minutes. The story I want to tell you is community collaboration. There's an amazing student that lives here, and she has a little brother, and I think maybe she inspired him. But Mrs. Amira Hajazi, she's a Pitt County student. She's at the East Carolina University Early College Innovation, recently recognized by you guys and the North Carolina Governor, Mr. Roy Cooper, for youth, North Carolina Youth Volunteer of the Year. And I'm thinking her smaller brother, Hanny, is on the same path. They've been volunteering with us and other organizations for over 3 years. And even when she received that prestigious accolade, Mara said, you know what, there's more. There's collaboration, but this county is trying to protect our students as we are going back to face full time. And all of you, city and county, are trying to protect our students and staff and administration. But she and her brother also said, we want everybody to come together, no matter what color, race. Nothing matters but the people. So at the same time, Ms. Perkins Williams, now I'm not just saying these great things about her because she makes famous sweet potato biscuits, and maybe I want some of those, but the same time, there's some kind of beautiful forces coming together as Amira and Hanny charged us to help them help our community. She called with her help of the nonprofit, and her pastor inspired her. She said, he not only tasked me to help my district, but all of the county and to help the children. And we call it a bottle of caring. We've gotten, the community has gotten 41 Walmart trucks with our collaboration with FEMA and Walmart. And there's a total of 1,066 pallets. And because of Miss Perkins Williams and these incredible Pitt County youth, this product with a lot of collaboration will be distributed thanks to private citizen and business owner E.R. Lewis. It will be distributed to all schools throughout the system. Dr. Linker and other folks have been working behind the scenes, and there's a lot of work to this. It's not just getting it and distributing it. This is being shared with the school system. But more importantly, this bottle of caring, the hand sanitizer, it's not just to kill germs. What you guys have done as an entire community is you're showing the parents, the teachers, the administrators, all of us, we're not only trying to keep you safe, but we care about you. And that's why I'm so grateful for you guys. And that's why I'm so excited to be thanking you tonight on behalf of my team. 41 Walmart trucks, 26 ballots, 1,066. The whole school system, thanks to Ms. Perkins and all the other teammates, Amara and Hanny Hajazi, will be distributed here in this county. And for that, I am really grateful. I'm proud. I've raised my family here, Ms. Thurston and her children. And I'm just really appreciate you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dunn, for coming and letting us know what you're doing in the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
We will now move to Employee Service Awards. We have Scott and Florida.
Yes, ma'am. So Employee Service Awards, we have on page 10 on the agenda package, a number of employees to recognize. And as we have stated over the last year, the employees are not with us because of our virtual meetings, but we are recognizing them in terms of the meeting in their service. So I'm going to read down these employees and their years of service. We have a number of employees starting with the 5 years of service, and I'll quickly read down the names. Any of the service awards and their certificates will be presented to the employees, and the 20-year watches, myself and Florida Hardy try to deliver those personally as we are able. So with 5 years, we have Terry Lynn Anderson with Solid Waste and Recycling, Yolanda Antoinette Bowens, Social Services, Jacob Daniel Brenson, Sheriff's Office, Christy Kolfler, Public Health, Michael Eubank, Sheriff's Office, Chad Allen Hardy, Sheriff's Office, Blair Lindler Hines, Sheriff's Office, Jared Allen Malpin, Emergency Management, Ashley Nicole Moore, Social Services, Mark William Morosky, Environmental Health, Krista Noel Owen, Sheriff's Office, Nicole V. Sawyer, Social Services, Aaron James Stangland, Sheriff's Office, Natasha Moy Staten, Social Services, Etta M. Sutton, Detention Center, Fallon Nicole Thomason, Social Services, Joshua Allen Troxel, Emergency Management, Charlene Johnson Ward, Social Services, Brenda Williams, Social Services, Shanita Denise Witherspoon, Social Services, and Sol Wunsch, GIS, which is Management Information Systems. In our tenure category, we have 2 employees, Andy Burlingham with Cooperative Extension Service and Billy Joe Tripp in the Detention Center. In the 15-year category, we have Lorenzo B. Atkinson, Solid Waste and Recycling, Keisha Adams Council, Social Services, Jared D. Dobbs, Sheriff's Office, Debbie Eastman, Detention Center, Christopher Hill, Sheriff's Office, Teresa Sampson, Social Services, Matthew Scholler, Emergency Management, and Jennifer Stroud, Social Services. In the 20 category, we have 3 employees, Joseph Johnson, Detention Center, Letitia Kittrell, Public Health, and William Lanier, Sheriff's Office. In the 25-year category, 3 employees, Edward Suggs with the Sheriff's Office, Michael C. Taylor, our Deputy County Manager, CIO, Chief Information Officer in our MIS department, and then Tony Williams, Sheriff's Office. And in the 30-year category, we have 1 employee, Casper F. Galloway, otherwise known as Fred Galloway, and he is in our Management Information Systems department. And Madam Chairman, that's all I have to report on service awards.
Okay, thank you. And we want to say congratulations to all of those employees. We can give them a clap of hand. Then we'll move to items for report. The first item is Public Health Director. Dr. Silvernail is going to give us an update on the community vaccination program.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Good evening, Commissioners, Mr. Manager. Nice to be with you this evening. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. I have mostly good news for you tonight.
We'd like to hear good news.
So you should be seeing my Commissioner's update slide for you. And going to move on. Won't go through it all, but want to remind everybody, please still be COVID smart. Even though we're vaccinating folks, there's a lot of folks out there that aren't immune to COVID. Please take steps to protect yourself, protect those that you live and work with, your loved ones, so that we can kick this virus out of Pitt County. Get your shot. Please consider getting one of the COVID-19 vaccines. The vaccine is available from the health department, from Vidant, from the Vidant Pitt County site at the convention center, through Walgreens, through the ECU mobile team. CVS, I still have as coming soon because I don't know that they've officially started in their stores. And one of our Harris Teeter stores is at least on the state supply list being given vaccine and should be doing vaccines in the very near future if they're not already. Want to briefly review our data with you. The last 3 weeks, we've seen tremendous improvements since mid-January at the peak of the epidemic, or at least this wave of the epidemic. This is a look at the March 16th data. Move ahead a week, you can see that this has improved drastically across the numbers of cases and our percent positivity. These are our numbers from last week, and these were what I presented at my press conference last Wednesday morning. We're down to 18.2 cases per day. It's about 1.4 cases per 1,000 residents. We were a little over 18,000 total cases that we can count, which is about 9.8% of our county population. Of those 18,000 cases, we estimated that 17,815 cases were recovered, which would be just a hair over 98% of our cases recovered. We had accumulated 86 fatalities, but our case fatality rate was low at 0.5 compared to a high during the epidemic of 0.7. And our percent of tests returning positive were down to 3.3. Around the middle of last week, people started talking about some increases across the country, and we did start to see a little bit of a tick up on Thursday. The state did not report numbers over the weekend, but these are the numbers from today. So our total cases, when we look at this on a cases over the last 14 days, still not bad at 275. That's 19.6 cases per day. That's slightly increased, about 1.4 cases per day from last week. We're up just a hair too, or what you would say is stable. We were 1.4 cases per 1,000 residents last week. We're 1.5 cases per 1,000 residents today. Our total cases were 18,311. That's 9.9% of our Pitt County residents, using 185,000 as our county population for that calculation. And our estimated recovered are 17,950, or 98% of our cases we would consider to be recovered based on time, as we discussed before. We have not accrued any new fatalities since last week, so we're stable at 86. That number remains unchanged. And our case fatality rate also was at the low end of the reference range at 0.5, trending down in the unrounded from 0.47 to 0.46. Our percentage of tests returning positive had crept up just a hair from 3.3 to 3.6. And if we, in the past, you've heard me say that COVID in Pitt County has largely followed a typical influenza curve for this time of year. And in most years, we do see a little bit of a spring wave of influenza. It's usually influenza B that we'll see kind of a rise late March, early April, very short, blunted wave. And then it goes away for the season until the new flu season starts the next year. My suspicion is that we will see a little bit of a peak of COVID here, that our numbers will creep up just a hair. This could all be just a plateau. And as these curves tally off, sometimes you get a plateau. And I know you can't quite see my hand gestures before you continue on in decline. But I would not be surprised if we do see a little bit of a spring wave here. With increased human activity comes increases in communicable disease. We are pretty much at the end of Passover. I think Passover's over now. We just had Easter for Christians. Ramadan is coming next week for our Muslim friends. So the three major religions, the three larger religions in our community, have all had major holidays in this month, and with increased human activity may see some increased disease. But I'm not terribly alarmed by these numbers. These represent very, very mild increases, and we're still very, very much improved from where we were in January. COVID-19 vaccinations. As of midnight on April 4th, so midnight last night, we had given 44,493 first doses in the county. That's the Moderna and Pfizer combined. 37,034 second doses, again, Moderna and Pfizer combined. If you look at that as a percentage of our county population, 24.6 or almost 25% of our population is partially vaccinated, and that would again be with either Moderna or Pfizer. And 20.5% are fully vaccinated, and that would include Moderna, Pfizer, and Johnson & Johnson. Biden is scheduled to receive a large supply of Johnson & Johnson this week. They do plan to make some of that available to us for a community event where we anticipate giving 300 doses. Hopefully we'll be able to hit that goal at that community event. So in total right now, 81,527 combined first, second, and single dose vaccines have been given in the county. I think a pretty impressive number given the time frame since late December. I do put a caveat on the data that this eventually the state gets all of the federal vendor data into the system, but that is lagged. So this may or may not include all of the federal vendors by that date and time specified in the top line. We are gaining on COVID. Please, Pitt County, keep up the good work. Please continue to be COVID smart. We are gaining on this thing, and we will drive this thing out of the county. I have no doubt. Want to tell you about a special program we were asked to be involved with. I know Chairwoman Floyd Huggins is aware of this. She's been working on this behind the scenes. You heard Pastor Coles allude to this. Pastor Coles has been working with this with the same group as one of our community partners. And this is the Say Yes to the COVID Test program. Pitt County was one of 2 sites in the United States selected for this program. The other site is Chattanooga, Tennessee. Not sure how they picked them, but they picked Chattanooga and they picked us. This is a CDC, National Institute of Health program run in collaboration with Duke and UNC Chapel Hill on the North Carolina level. And the intent of this program is to distribute 40,000 test kits to residents of Pitt County. These will go out through our community partners. We will distribute them at the health department, and they can also be ordered online. There'll be a link to an Amazon site where they can order these, and Amazon will fulfill them. There is no charge for shipping and no charge for the tests. These are a simple point of care test that can be done in the home by that individual. And each test kit contains 25 tests. So we'll go through that. It's the next slide. Each test kit contains 25 tests. So this will actually put 1 million self-administered tests into Pitt County. And the overall plan is to put, for a household that receives this kit, to have 2 people in each household conduct self-tests on COVID-19 for 3 times a week. So they suggest that you do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday schedule, and that you stick with that schedule. And there's enough tests in there for the 2 people to do this for about 4 weeks if they do it 3 times a week as scheduled. While open to anyone, the intended population is to get to unvaccinated individuals and those who work outside of the home. So think about essential workers predominantly. They also said that this would be appropriate to go to be used on children, and I believe it's down to age 6 or 8, and that the parents should do the swabbing, the anterior nasal swab on the children. So students in K through 12 or other educational settings could potentially participate in this project. Why Pitt County? Pitt County Health Department has a proven track record of administering regional public health grants. So the state's very familiar with tasking us with programs to run regionally. So we have grants that we administer that cover Public Health Region 10 exclusively, but then our PrEP grant has a different region. Our Minority Diabetes Prevention grant also has a different region, a larger region. Tobacco prevention, same thing. So we administer these regional grants on behalf of the state here in Pitt County and other Eastern North Carolina counties. Pitt County's had a high rate of COVID-19. That was one of the selection criteria. And there's access to our GUC wastewater. And I'm sorry, this is during the dinner hour, potentially for some folks still. But our wastewater has been used for COVID-19 surveillance already. This has been found to be helpful. And what they do is they survey the wastewater or sewage for the presence of the COVID virus genetic material, the RNA from COVID-19, and look at the levels of that in comparison to levels in the community. ECU's been doing this with some of the dorms, and on ECU, it actually helped pick up a cluster in a dorm. They saw the levels rising in the sewage. They went in and tested folks in the dorm, and they were able to get around that very, very quickly this spring semester. So there's, even though it's maybe gross to some people, there is some utility in using wastewater as a marker for disease activity. The purpose of the test, to compare positive self-testing rates with the amount of COVID-19 in the community, is defined in the normal public health surveillance methods. So they're going to look at the percentage of positivity, number of positive tests that they get from the self-test program, and compare that to what we're seeing in our normal public health surveillance methods. They're also going to compare those numbers to the presence of COVID-19 RNA in the Pitt County Greenville public wastewater. So the Greenville Utilities septic flow, and the state's already doing that. State's been tracking that, and the amount of COVID RNA in the GUC wastewater actually follows our epidemic curve pretty well. I've seen some of that data and can share that with you in the future if you're interested. There's also an option for folks that are in the self-testing program to participate in a research study that will require the completion of surveys about their health behaviors. And those surveys can be done either online or over the phone. So it's easy to participate in that. And they have, if they participate in the research study, they have the opportunity to be awarded a $50 gift card. So there's a financial incentive to potentially participate in that research project. So the hope really of this is that having testing available in the home will decrease the amount of silent transmission in our community. There's some folks that have mild illness or asymptomatic illness, some folks who don't get tested, and that's probably where some of this fire continues to burn or smolder. And there's a hope that this will help that fire to be detected, and for those folks to be able to self-isolate and minimize the transmission from some of these silent cases in the community. So I hope that you'll all join us in saying yes to the COVID test. And that, I'm happy to take your questions. I'll stop the share there. There we go.
Any question for Dr. Sibinair? I don't see any hands, Dr. Sibinair.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for your presentation, and thank you for your work.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. You all have a good evening now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll have the manager's report.
Yes, ma'am. Real quick, just a few things. Next meeting dates, April 19th and May 3rd are your next regular meeting dates. We begin the budget workshops on Tuesday, May the 4th, go on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we will, likewise like we did last year, the budget workshops will be virtual online. And actually, the budget message will be delivered that Monday night on May 3rd, and then we'll go directly into the budget workshops for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of that following week. On the next item, item B, jail medical services contract. Just want to bring to the board's attention. I know the sheriff is on the meeting tonight. That her and her staff are working on options to either renew the contract with East Carolina Medical Services or looking at options for other service providers. The current contract, we've had it probably 20 years plus or minus. It expires June 30th of this year. I know she's working hard and diligently to bring a new, either a renewal or a new provider to the table, and have talked with her on several occasions on that. And the time frame is getting close to the end of the fiscal year, but she has the situation under control and will be bringing forth either an extension, renewal, or a new service contract for that operation. That's about a $2.2 million contract annually that we do for jail medical services. Just want to make you aware, since the sheriff normally brings that forward as a recommendation with the dollar amount, is something that the board has approved in the past. So it's just an FYI only. On item C, we finally have the project at the courthouse complete for the installation of the flag poles. And I think our PO office is putting up a picture right now. You can see on the screen, we've got the American flag in the middle, the state flag on the left, and the Pitt County flag on the right. We also posted in the middle on the ground our All-American County seal from the National Civic League. And it just, obviously this is the site where the monument was. So this is a new display for us and very fitting for the courthouse. On the last item, just on the animal shelter rebidding, we did go back out for rebid phases 2, 3, and 4 on the animal shelter. Unfortunately, we did not have at least 3 bids, and by law, we have to have 3 bids in order to open those bids. We only had 2 bidders, even though we had 9 bidders come to a mandatory pre-bid conference, but only 2 bid on it. So we're having to rebid, and we'll be opening those later this month, and we'll bring those back to you for some type of action. At that point, since we rebid it, if we only have 2 bids or 1 bid, we can open the bids and then proceed forward as the board desires. And Madam Chairwoman, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Commissioner Ward?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to accept the items for consent.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second that we approve the items for consent. Ready for the question, Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner McGlawhorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you. I do want to mention in that group, there is a proclamation designating April 30th as National Therapy Animal Day. So I just want to highlight that. Next item for discussion, the position request from the sheriff.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. Good evening, Madam Chair.
Good evening.
And Commissioners. Let me first start this off by saying that I am grateful to enjoy a good working relationship with each and every one of you all. I'm here tonight to talk about a position request. Under North Carolina law, the county sheriff is responsible for the background investigation and issuance of concealed handgun permits and handgun purchase permits. These laws require the sheriff issue or deny a concealed handgun permit within 45 days and a handgun purchase permit within 14 days. Due to firearms being purchased at record numbers, we have been forced to discontinue optional services such as fingerprinting for anything other than permits. Unfortunately, we are still behind and we are requesting an additional minimum of 3 to 5 positions to assist with these services. I do want to point out, as we did some comparisons, Craven County, we checked with them, they have 5 to 6 positions, and they are a much smaller population, and 2 are having trouble keeping up even with that. Just to tell you a little bit about how this process works, people will go online and apply and pay at pittcountysheriffsoffice.com. Those applications then come to us and we process them. That includes doing the background, criminal backgrounds rather, or that's another element of it, to include checking RMS, CJ leads, and DCI, and links for information showing any mental involvement or commitments. Then the information that we find is entered into Peridium as to whether we approve it or deny it. By statute, again, it is to be done within 2 weeks, 14 days. Right now, it's taken us 8 weeks. And the one thing that people don't realize with it being online, it offers the ability for this application process online to be open 24 hours a day. So 24 hours a day, people are going on and applying for these purchase permits. Understand that our clerks do not work 24 hours a day, and they don't work on weekends, and those permits are steady coming in. Now, that's for the purchase permit. The concealed carries are a little different, but it's more in depth. So the first thing, again, they go online. They go to the pittcountysheriff.com to apply and pay. And then they set an appointment to come in. On their appointment date, they come in and sign documents and have them notarized, and then they get fingerprinted. The file is then sent to us, and where we have to take the mental release forms and send them to 7 different facilities. The application must be then entered into DCI so that the state is aware and that fingerprints can be processed. We then have to complete a criminal background check again using RMS, CJ Lee's, DCI, and links. We have to wait for all 7 facilities to send us the information back as to whether the person has been seen by their facility or not for any mental issues. If the mental and criminal background is complete and passes everything needed, then we may order the permit through DCI. The state then prints the cards and mail them to us, and that could take another 2 weeks. Right now, there are approximately, we are doing approximately 100 to 200 CCWs, or we're ordering that many a week in a week's time. I believe you all may have the comparison sheet to show how much of an increase there has been in permits. The top part will show you the permits. In 2019, in January, the permits were at 330. In 2019 and 2020, they were at 394. But remember, this is pre-COVID. The January and February numbers, when you look at those. Where we see the increase is March of 2019, we had 449 applications. That went up to 932 in 2020. As of today, in 2021, as of March 21st, let me go back, not today, March 21st, we've had 544 applications, requests for gun permits. If you look at April 2019, 293, in 2020, 791, and so on and so forth. In May, 272, in 2020, 848. The significant one that I really like to look at is June of 2019, there were 250 requests. In June of 2020, there were 1,549 requests for gun permits. And you can see the rest. These numbers are steadily increasing. And with what's going on now in the world, I'm expecting that the blanks that are missing for April and May and all of those areas, I expect that it will go up even significantly higher as people are putting in for requests for gun permits. We currently have 2 people who are processing these permits, and there's no way that we can keep up. We are probably, again, about 8 weeks behind. And you know, according to the North Carolina General Statute 14-404, we are to have these things done in 14 days, to have them processed in 14 days. It should be either granted or denied in that period of time, and there's no way that we are able to keep up with that. Now, with the concealed carry, the numbers are, well, they were in 2019 and 2020 closer in comparison, but if you look at 2021, you will see those numbers going up as well. And that's a process that's even longer. That's the one with the 7 different facilities and having to wait for those to come back. There is a whole lot of work that's involved with that. And there's no way that with the staffing that I have, that we can keep up with those. And we are constantly getting barraged with a lot of phone calls and emails and messages sent, with threats of suing because they are not getting their gun permits in time. The Constitution allows people their Second Amendment rights to have those guns, and it also directs me as sheriff to make sure that we are getting those permits to them. And I cannot do that without the appropriate staffing. So that's why I'm asking you all to help me or at least provide the staffing that will be able to make me be within my statutory requirements to get these permits out and the CCWs out in a timely manner as required by the statute. If you have any questions,
So Sheriff, how many are you requesting? What are you requesting?
At a minimum 3, but I could use about 5 in actuality.
Madam Chairwoman, can I make a comment before you take hands up?
Yes.
I've made a written recommendation on this. For some reason, it didn't print on the printed packet. And my recommendation was kind of based upon the couple things. One being that early this fiscal year, after we adopted the budget, the sheriff came to you in August. You got 1 additional position, which you approved. Now she's asking for 3 more here toward the end of the year. These 3 are 3 of 11 that she's asking for in next year's budget for July 1. I do see a need to grant at least 1 of these, but I would recommend holding off on the others until you see the total budget picture. This will be over $150,000 in expense if you do all 3. And I did ask her when we had our one-to-one budget meeting with her and her staff and our financial staff and myself, if there were only a limited number of positions of the 11 granted, would she be satisfied with these 3 being the only 3 if you went ahead and did this and there was no room to do it out of the remaining 11 or the total of 11? And I think, Sheriff, I don't want to speak for you. I think you're responsible, as you said, you need all 11, which is probably what I would say too if I was advocating for my agency. But just wanted to put that out there. I apologize that didn't get in the written comments. I typed it, but it didn't print.
Okay. All right. I see Commissioner Nunley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Sheriff Dance. I had a couple questions. And I guess first, you've cleared it up that the North Carolina legislature sets the time, the delay period. And I guess where I'm having a difficult time is that the county is being asked to come in and step in and fill a timing mandate due to increased demand. And I wonder who sets the fee and how much is the fee for the permit first and then the concealed carry?
I have several people in here with me. Dawn Heaton is my most senior person that's in there that actually does the permits. And the question was, what is the fee for a purchase permit? Is that the question?
So what is the fee and who sets that fee? Who sets that fee schedule?
It's $5 and it's set by the general statute.
$5 and it's set by the general statute. That's what the fee is, and that's for the gun permit. And for the CCWs, it's $90. And again, and that's set by the yes.
Okay, so I guess I fish, right, and I buy a fishing license every year that helps support North Carolina wildlife and my activities as a games person in the state of North Carolina. I guess where I have an issue is where we're offering a service and permitting, and the state's setting a mandate that you have sufficient positions to return all of the background checks that are necessary, and we're not being provided financial assistance. The taxpayers of Pitt County are essentially going to be asked to foot the bill, and I guess what I would like to see before we run down the rabbit hole of requesting our general tax base to fund additional positions that are directly tied to a permit, that we request the General Assembly to step up and maybe look at their fee schedule and see if it's not creating an undue burden on counties that are maybe not in a position to, to foot the bill for $150,000 to get clerks in place to handle this load. I think for me, it's a matter of making sure that your fees that are collected, and the General Assembly's presumably setting that fee, that those fees that are collected are supporting the administration necessary to actually fulfill the promise that the state's making out there, and you're in a position of not being able to meet that, and it's being put on the backs of the Pitt County taxpayer. And I have a fundamental problem with that. That I pay I think it's $41 a year for my fishing license, and someone that carry a gun's paying $5. To me, I think we need to look at the legislature and maybe request our delegation to do exploration as whether or not this is something that we can look. If we're gonna provide this and allow folks to carry, then we certainly need to make sure that they're paying so that law enforcement can do their job to look after.
And just in response to that, Commissioner Nunley, I hear what you're saying. Understand what you're saying, but I'm telling you today that we're 8 weeks behind, and people have the ability to sue Pitt County, and it's not going to be the sheriff that's going to be paying; it's going to be the taxpayers that's paying that lawsuit, and they have a right to do that. And if we're going to wait, please understand this is a pay me now or pay me later situation that we're in right now. That's going to be up to you guys to weigh that option as an option. All I'm trying to do is to statutorily fulfill the requirements that are set forth as it stands today, that I have 14 days actually to get these things done. And we've been kicking the can, and we're talking about in what your suggestion is kicking the can a little bit further, but that's going to be up to the commissioners.
Well,
and you all make that decision in good conscience.
And I'll just say that I feel like the can's been kicked to you and us. Maybe not that we're kicking it. There's an administrative burden that's been placed on your department and the taxpayers of Pitt County. I think it's important that the people of Pitt County understand what this burden means. If we are, if someone's going to apply to carry a handgun, to have a handgun or any firearm for that matter that needs a permit, we need to make sure that the folks that are setting those regulations are also not putting counties in a position of being squeezed and your department being squeezed. That's my point. And that'll be all. And
there is a revenue that comes from each one of those, the gun permit and the CCW. There is a revenue that the county does get back in that. Is that correct?
We get the full $5 and we get 45.
So we get the full $5 from the permit, and we get 45 of the $90 from the CCW.
And maybe this is a question from our Madam Attorney, but I presume that we do not have authority to levy a local fee to help support that administrative burden.
No, I would say that that's preempted by the state statute 14.4. Sorry, that's a tongue twister. 14.404 says that we may not charge more than $5 for that purchase permit.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Thank you for your chance.
Thank you, Commissioner Ward.
Yes, am I unmuted?
Yes.
I would like to, in the form of a motion, move that we give her permission to hire one person now and to come back at budget time, which we're starting in April, and present her needs for the rest of those positions. And I'm putting that in the form of a motion.
Madam Chair.
Let me just, I see a hand before your motion. I know you have a motion on the floor, but I want to give Commissioner Colson a chance for a question.
Could I get a second first?
Yeah.
If there's
I'd
one
like
out
to-
there.
I'd like to second that, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Okay,
All right,
thank
now,
you.
Commissioner Colson, you have a question?
Well, I got several things to say. Back in August, when the sheriff came before us, if you remember, I had a question at the time about that, and I was a little bit concerned that the sheriff department was not able to give fingerprints to people in the private sector that needed it. As I understand it, if you want to be a foster parent, you have to be fingerprinted, and there's any number of other things where fingerprinting was required, but she's had to preempt that, and people have had to go out of the county and drive all over in order to try to get fingerprinted. And at that time, I also asked her, I said, well, gee, don't lowball that one person. If you really need something, come to us with the real number that you need so we can consider it. And Sheriff Vance has done that. She says, well, in the paper today it said 3, now she's saying 5. And based on what I'm seeing, is probably the 5 is what she really needs. And I think that we, as county commissioners, that having been duly notified, not once, not twice, but now 3 times, that she's got some problems obeying the state law, we're putting her in a bad position. I don't think one person is going to handle it. I mean, think of the alternative here. What if we do this and people and she decided to rush these things through and not do an adequate check? Well, what would be the ramifications of that? Well, I'm not suggesting that she's going to do that. All I'm saying is that we have been duly notified there's a problem here. And I think that what we need to do, and Scott, I'm going to make a substitute motion. I may not get a second, but I'm going to say that you need to prepare for her to immediately get the 5 positions that she says she needs so that she can perform adequate services for the fingerprinting, not just for the guns and things like that, but to start to be able to redo or pick up the slack in other areas that are requiring fingerprints. And, you know, as far as the tax deal, I understand what Chris is saying, but my goodness, where does the state get its tax money? I think a little bit of that money comes from the Pitt County people. And so when the state says that it's going to be a certain amount and they pass this unfunded mandate down to us, well, we're stuck with it. But I believe one of our legislative goals is stated that we're objecting to the state doing such things as that. And I think that this ought to be a component of that unfunded mandates. They do it with the school system and various other areas to where we, the county, are constantly in trouble. But I think we're obligated, in my opinion, that we support the sheriff's department and give her the people she needs in order for her to be able to do her jobs properly. So again, to reestablish my motion, substitute motion, that we go ahead and we authorize her to get the 5 positions immediately, because she's not going to be able to just run right out there and pick up 5 people and bring them in and sit them down. There's going to be time associated with this. And I don't think one person's going to do anything to really alleviate the problem based on the numbers that she has projected out there. And looking at other counties around us that are much smaller and have many more people than she does, I think it's telling as to how stingy we're trying to be and on something that the citizens want. So having said that, is there a motion? I mean, is there a second to my motion?
I like the second Tom's motion because a lawsuit would cost us even more. Lawsuit?
Okay.
Absolutely, a lawsuit. People are threatening her. You heard what the sheriff said. People are threatening lawsuits because she's not able to meet the timeline.
Okay, we have a second to a substitute motion. And I have some hands up before I call for the question, I believe.
Okay, well, I'm finished.
Commissioner Albright.
Yes, thank you, and thank you for the discussion, all of you. I agree that we certainly need to do more than possibly one at this time. I can't really see a justification for adding 5 to the permanent payroll. I wonder about hiring temporary. I wonder about the permanent need for all of these permit requests. Do we anticipate these numbers will go on and on and on and continue? Or will there be a point where we have hired 5 people to do this and then the permit level has come back? I certainly agree with Commissioner Colson that the fingerprinting is an issue and there's a backlog here and we need to do something to address it, but we have not addressed, I think, the possibility of temporary or putting people in the position to help with this sort of crisis is what it sounds like, without adding them to a permanent payroll. And the permanent payroll of adding 5 people at this point without any discussion about the impact on our budget concerns me. So anyway, that's my comment.
Sir, okay. if I could just respond to that
yes.
about getting people in temporary. You have to understand these people have to have DCI training. They have to be DCI certified. They have to go through links and get link certified. They have a lot of certifications that they must get. A lot of training that comes in.
How long will this go on, Sheriff Dance? How long do you anticipate we will have this number of permits continuing 24 hours a day? And how long will this threat of a lawsuit exist with us?
Well, let me answer that as well. These permits were behind long before I came in. They're just gotten worse. We should have had 5 long ago. But they've gotten to the point where we are now before I came into office, we may have been 4 weeks out in getting these permits. But as I came into office and when COVID hit, and then with the presidential election going on, and that's always a spike during that time, but then with these other issues, social issues that's going on, I can foresee it going on for a long time to come. But we should have long ago had 5 people at a minimum doing purchase permits with the expectation of doing the fingerprints, not only for permits, but for the public. I caught a lot of reaction from not being able to even provide that service, which was a complimentary service for people to get fingerprints for other jobs, for jobs or for foster parents and all of that. And had to come before you all then, but we should have it didn't just happen in the last 2 or 3 years. It happened, we were behind before because we were never fully given the people that we needed to keep up and to be able to satisfy the statutory requirements. We've just been lucky. We've been lucky.
All right, thank you, Sheriff Dance. I see, I'm gonna call on people who have not spoken yet. Commissioner White, if you have a question,
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a question for Scott. If we go ahead and approve 5 positions for this tonight, is that 5 out of the 11 that the Sheriff's Department is requesting in the new budget season? Or will that, because I know you said something about 3 out of 11. So will this be?
Of the 11 positions, 3 are identified as these clerk 5s she's asking for. So if you do 2 more above and beyond that, you're talking about $250,000 greater in terms of salary expense to do 5, if you do 5.
Okay. Is it okay if I ask Commissioner Colson a question right now? Commissioner Colson, would you be okay if I make an amendment to your substitute to approve 3 positions tonight instead of 5 or not?
Sheriff Dance, I guess I would like to ask you, before I answer that, obviously that'll put you in a better position you are now, but it's still not really where you need to be, or is it, long term?
No, long term it is not where I need to be. I originally asked for 3 because I'm a team player and I wanted to look at, I thought about the cost that is, that the county will incur. But I want to remind you that even now that we're talking about those costs, even now, we actually in just CCW, we're at $109,185 in this year on the concealed carry permits. And then as we look at the permits to purchase, right now we're at $46,835 in revenue that comes to the county from those purchase permits and CCWs. So we're talking money right there that would help to fund getting these other people in here to be able to get folks their governments. And you all are not on the end of the phone calls that my clerks get every day and that I get in the emails of people being upset because they are not getting their constitutional right to bear those arms when they can legally bear them. And Mr. Colson made a very good point that understand this, you do want me to do those backgrounds and not get these firearms in the hands of the wrong people. We've seen that across the country. And I would like to be able to do my job and to do it right.
So, Scott, do you agree that the monies that she just stated are going to the general fund? They are not going to the sheriff's department?
The general fund pays for the sheriff's office and the detention center.
I understand that, but this money that's being generated by this service that the sheriff's department is doing, it goes into the general fund, and as part of that money that you're talking about goes to the funding of the sheriff's department?
All the general fund revenues go into the same pot that fund all departments within the general fund.
Okay, so she's made the case that it's kind of self-paying, and so I'll tell you what, Commissioner White, assuming that Mary goes along with it, I'll acquiesce to the amendment to 3. But Scott, I'm going to tell you, start looking for 5 come budget time. Because the sheriff is the one that has to sit there and do that job, not you, not Brian, not Mike Taylor, not Janice, not me, none of the commissioners. The sheriff has to do it. And so I think we ought to listen to the sheriff. If she says she needs something and she's made the case, and I think she's made the case, then I say go for it. Mary, will you acquiesce and go to the 3?
Yes, but the reason I second it right away is because a lawsuit is much more expensive in a way when they started levying how much people want to do about their rights to bear arms, and the sheriff's office is not getting it out. But sure, I'll go along with it. But I mean, if it happens now, the public hear this discussion as well.
Chairwoman,
they hear this discussion.
Can I ask a follow-up question to the sheriff? Will you be able to, if the board approves the 3 positions, will you be able to accommodate these without having to look for at least for new office space to accommodate these individuals?
No, I would prefer to have some more office space. We're busting at the seams. If I get the 3 now, we can make that work here now. But with the entire 5, there is no room in the end right now. We have to put them, but I still need them.
Okay, in that case, then I will second what Tom said, 3.
Okay, so we have a motion to we have a substitute motion, but for 3, is that Tom?
That's correct, 3.
Okay. All right. Before we carry that motion, I have another commissioner that have not talked. Commissioner McGlaughlin.
Yes, after listening to all of the concerns, I agree. I think that we need to move on three of them. I did second the motion that was made by Commissioner Ward, but I think it's important that we give Sheriff Dance what she's asking for, and that was three. She stated that she wanted to be a team player, and I certainly think that that's appropriate. I want to ask Sheriff Dan something, though. I want to ask her about the concealed carry permits. What is the percentage of those permits, Sheriff, if you can answer, that has been denied?
Ooh, that would take some research because certainly when we do the background checks on them, there could be things specifically if there are any involuntary commitments that disqualifies them from that. And then there are certain crimes that they've been convicted of that is also a disqualifier from them getting or having the ability to have a CCW, but that would take some research for me to look at that percentage. It's not that high though. It's just more that people are getting them, not thus why the numbers that we have of the processes that I read off to you. These are people who are getting, most of these people are getting their permits.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the reason I asked that question is as you know, nationally, there is a alarming rate of people, crazy people out there now. These people are going out committing murder, killings, and things of this nature. I'm concerned about that. But certainly, I'm a proponent of the Second Amendment right, but you got to look at seriously the background check, and I'm certainly concerned about that. Thank you.
Okay. Madam Attorney, we can vote on the substitute motion first.
Yes, you're required to vote on the substitute motion first, which would be to have 3 new clerk 5 positions for gun permitting.
Okay. All right. And we've had a motion and a second that we approve 3 positions for the sheriff.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Commissioner Colson, do you have another question?
The only thing I want to do is comment that with concealed carry permit holders is statistically, they're the safest people in the country. They are 1/6 as likely to commit a crime as a police officer is. Any crime, including a parking ticket. Okay. They are the safest ones out there.
All right, thank you. We will now vote on the substitute motion. Madam Clerk.
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick.
Yes.
Commissioner Albright.
Yes.
Commissioner Colson.
Yes.
Commissioner McGlawhorn.
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley.
Yes.
Commissioner Ward.
Yes.
Commissioner White.
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Absolutely.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. So now we will approve 3 positions for the sheriff. So we don't need to vote on the original motion. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Sheriff Dance.
Thank you all for your consideration and time.
Okay. All right. We will move now to items for decision. The first item is NC 43 South Land Use Plan. Mr. Manager, do you want to say anything before James?
No, this turns straight over to Mr. Rhodes and he can take it from here.
All right. Are you ready, Mr. Rhodes?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman Huggins and members of the board. Tonight, we're bringing back to you for the board's consideration the NC 43 South land use plan. Of course, this is after your March 15th public hearing at your last meeting. In your agenda package, staff has prepared a response or responses to the primary concerns that were issued at that public hearing. I'll briefly run through those tonight and welcome any questions and then lead you into a discussion about a motion that's been prepared previously. And again, we heard several comments at our last meeting, and I'm going to hit the high spots here tonight. The 5 that were most readily apparent were, number 1, the proposed extension of the sewer service by Greenville Utilities. You've already heard some comments about that tonight. Annexation by the city of Greenville, future land use that's shown on the proposed map for the plan, stormwater and drainage issues, and also issues associated with school capacity. So first up, the sewer service. And Greenville Utilities, as you're aware, because of some of the issues with the schools in that particular area, there is a force main that provides service all the way down to Chicago, as well as the Hope Middle School and D.H. Conley High School. And currently, and I'll show you a map in just a minute, there is a proposal to extend a gravity sewer line to some properties around the Hollywood Crossroads area. Also, a force main to be extended to connect to a new pump station near the recently annexed properties. You've seen a map about that recently during this meeting. And there are easements currently being sought for the construction of that gravity sewer line, and Greenville Utilities has advised us they've got ongoing discussions with several owners, property owners in that area, that have expressed interest in sewer service. So just to reorient you, you saw this map last time, but existing pump station located right off of Ivy Road here, an existing area that's currently being developed by the city of Greenville or through the city's development standards at Cox Crossing, and just more recently, the line that's being considered for extension up towards the Hollywood Crossroads properties in this general vicinity. This is the line that the easements are currently being acquired for, just to orient you there. Also, annexation, and I know there's been a request to the county county attorney about annexations, and just a brief rundown of some of the other related annexation laws by the state. And again, the state has taken firm action about this within the recent past. Annexation right now, except in extreme circumstances, is voluntary. Property owners will not be required to connect to the sewer system. That is, again, voluntary on their part. But those owners that wish to connect to the sewer system, very similar to what we experienced through the Candlewick Sanitary District, there is a requirement for a voluntary annexation petition to go before City Council. If those city services are received, voluntary annexation petition is required to go along with that. And again, once following the annexation, all the development standards for the city would take precedent versus those of the county. Land use planning. This plan, as we've discussed a number of times, we had a number of partners in this: City of Greenville, Greenville Urban Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, and of course the Department of Transportation. It's anticipated that the city will also consider this plan as a guide to growth in the area. The future land use plan designates those areas, the map that I showed just previously. Those areas readily serve with sanitary sewer service, designated as suburban residential. And we firmly believe that is an appropriate designation for those areas. those would allow, or that designation would allow densities ranging between 3 to 5 dwelling units per acre. Also, we heard comments that the area should be designated as rural residential agricultural. Well, that's certainly the case. That's the type of development pattern that's along Mills Road right now. We see that holding on the very southern portion of the corridor, past on the southern side of Cox Crossing. But in the Mills Road corridor, where sewer is going to be readily available, we really believe the suburban residential designation is the appropriate designation. Again, our planning horizon for this plan is about 15 to 20 years, and we believe, certainly with the sewer service being available, you'll see that suburban residential type of development pattern well within the 15 to 20 years, probably in the next 5 in some of those areas. It's also reasonable to assume that a significant amount of the land will be petitioned for voluntary annexation to receive the sanitary sewer service. The property owners do not have to connect, but may continue to utilize property under the county's zoning and develop on individual septic systems. So that's the prerogative. That is the choice of the property owners. So again, the map shown here, this is the areas that we've received most of the concerns and questions about, is right on around the Hollywood Crossroad area. Just to orient you, D.H. Conley is sitting right here. Hollywood Crossroads, the intersection of Worthington Road, Mills Road, and NC 43 with a commercial node there. And again, most of the sewer service area would be just off to the east. The area that's been recently annexed by the city sits right off towards this end of the map. A couple of other concerns, stormwater drainage. And we have heard a number of issues about that. We're familiar with some of the concerns and some of the management issues there. What our recommendations are is that it will take a number of agencies to move together, to meet together, to address some of these problems. I'm pleased to say some of that's already starting. The city of Greenville does have a stormwater committee that's currently looking at some upgrades to their regulations. Likewise, the county will be moving forward over the next year and updating its regulations in response to some state requirements. So one partnership that we've already helped facilitate is getting the Southeastern Drainage District representative involved in the stormwater regulations with the city of Greenville. Some other recommendations is concerning stormwater drainage is encouraging retention and detention facilities, requiring new development to meet pre-development standards if it's currently undeveloped. Certainly the runoff isn't too severe. We'd like to keep it at that level. And then I've already mentioned the coordination between Southeastern Drainage Commission, GUC, and the city. School capacity issues will be our last one to address. And again, 3 schools that I've mentioned that are in that area: Conley, Hope Middle School, as well as Chicod. The new development along Mills Road will primarily impact D.H. Conley and Chicod. And why not Hope, which is sitting right adjacent there? Most of you realize that Hope Middle School does not serve the district where it's located. The students that go to that school, for the most part, are located at least 3 to 4 miles outside or from the location of the school site. So the 2 schools that are most impacted would be Conley and Chicod. And as most of you know, they're highly regarded schools, and they're at or above capacity already. At the current time, I know there was some push to have this looked at, but we have no policies or regulations in place currently to limit or prevent additional development within certain school districts that might be at or above capacity. So with that, Madam Chair, we're bringing back before you our 2 motions that we offered previously. Number one, to authorize the chairman to sign a resolution to, one, adopt the NC 43 South Land Use Plan effective immediately, and to amend the official land use plan map that we go by, the 2030 Comprehensive Land Use Plan, to make reference to the 43 South Land Use Plan. And with that, Madam Chair, that's the staff report for the night. I'll be glad to answer any questions or address any concerns about those particular items.
Okay. I can't see hands. Madam, Mr. Manager.
Yes, you have a hand up for Commissioner Colson. Hold on, Commissioner Perkins Williams, and the middle one, I can't tell who the name is. Must be Commissioner White.
Okay. Commissioner Colson.
Okay, the question I have about the sewer. On or about 2010, the county commission paid for our force line out to Chicago School. Is Greenville Utilities in any of the proposal that they're using, even a portion of it, are they planning to use that line to service some or all of this area?
James, I'll be able to take this one. You can add on to it if you want, but when that line was put in, GUC actually upgraded the line, expanded the line for future capacity. So they paid additional money into that line, knowing that they were going to be looking at growth in this area at that time. James, you can add to that.
That is correct. It is part of the overall service or service system in that area. So yes, it is part of that.
Okay, it's my understanding that the county commission, or actually staff, you did it. You financed this over, I believe, a 20-year period, and we still owe 10 years on that, and it's being paid for out of the funds, some of the funds that were created for the industrial development. Is that correct?
That's correct. I think we're in year 11 of 20, but you're correct.
Okay, so therefore, since the city, since we paid for this, and quite frankly, this is one of the things that just irritates me about Greenville Utilities. There was a need to put a line out there to the school. It should have been, in my opinion, they should have looked at it for the good of the people, for the good of the county. They should have paid for it because it was the right thing to do and just put the line out there. I'd have a whole different opinion about this particular 43 expansion if they had done so, but they didn't. Now, are we going to get reimbursed for 10 years worth of the, what was it, $8.9 million? I wasn't here at that time. I just remember it. There's something like that.
I think we're only doing $20,000 a year for the 20 years. I think the majority of the cost was borne by GUC themselves.
I thought it was a lot more than that.
No, that's
but regardless, I'll go back to my question. Are they going to, since they want to use this for something else now, are they going to reimburse us for that money? I think they ought to. It's just a comment. You don't have to answer. It's rhetorical. Thank you.
Commissioner White.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to bring up some of the same concerns I brought up last time about this land use plan being very near to tracts of land that's in the voluntary ag district, hog farms, chicken farms, other farms with loud and slow moving equipment. And just because there is no rule or law saying that we shouldn't develop in districts of schools that are already at or above capacity doesn't mean that we need to increase to high density zoning. And I actually sit on the southeastern drainage district, and I'm not currently aware of any cooperation with Greenville Utilities and the city of Greenville over any drainage issues. Drainage is going to be a very huge concern. So I just want to reiterate those concerns and the traffic concerns, and just the fact that a lot of people in this area are very concerned about it and that they are not in favor of this plan. Thank you.
Commissioner Perkins Williams, did you have a hand up, Scott?
Yes, I'm sorry. And then Commissioner Albright and Commissioner Nunley.
Oh, okay.
I did have my hand up. Did you call on me or who you
Yes,
call?
I did.
Okay. If we vote against the chair of authorizing this, that means that Greenville Utilities would have to bear the burden of the drainage and the problem that they'll be having. Is it what if we vote against this because of the drainage and all these other negatives relating to that? Because isn't that agriculture? Isn't it zone agriculture, or was it agriculture or something? Who can answer that?
James.
You'll have to repeat that question one more time.
I was thinking, what's the zoning on the map that we have for it? Because it's way out in the country.
Are you asking zoning or the planning designation?
Both.
Two different things.
Yes, sir. Both.
Okay. Planning wise, you've seen what's proposed again on Mills Road as far as the land use designation is for suburban residential in the future. And currently, the area up to Hollywood Crossroads is currently shown as suburban residential in our current land use plan. So they're similar, but we just are extending it further down Mills Road as far as the land use plan is concerned.
So it's not agriculture, or how long?
Part of the area on Mills Road currently is rural agricultural in the current land use plan. But again, in respect to the sewer being available in the majority of the study area, we progressed on further out with suburban residential.
Okay, so you sort of met because it is fitting for development of that type.
That is correct.
So, okay, I was wanting to understand what happened here. The next thing I am concerned about is the drainage, because when I saw the map before, it was water at the end of that highway. I don't remember now which highway was it, and that was involved with that water covering the highway of the thing. And I did ride out there, and it was wet and it had not been so what can we hold this until the drainage people meet? Because when you are dealing with water standing in and about a house, that affects the life or the quality of life or the residents who live in that house. Do you understand what my thinking is?
Well, let me address the picture that you saw last time. That was just sheerly for illustrative purposes. In fact, I think that shot that showed the water standing over the road is actually in your district. And that was because of a beaver dam. So that had some extenuating circumstances. That was just showing you what can happen with drainage issues. Now what we have done for the Southeastern Drainage District, and this is for Commissioner White's sake, we've connected Mr. Paramore, who serves as their representative to the Southeastern Drainage Commission. He has already attended one of the stormwater meetings for the city of Greenville. And that's what it's going to take as these properties are annexed. The city's stormwater requirements would be necessary to be complied with for any new development. So those regulations are currently being upgraded. You'll see additional requirements even coming in at the county level as well. So by default, we're already moving towards that. Will it absolutely address all the flooding issues? Probably not, but they will be improved.
Okay, and see, we as a board have nothing to do with Greenville Utilities, and they don't want us to have anything to do with them. They don't even want us to hear their discussion, do they? So what I just trying to figure out how I'm going to handle my vote. That's why I was asking these questions, because I'm with the people.
Commissioner Nunley?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. James, I wonder in your recommendations in the packet, and of course you presented these cluster and conservation development plans earlier. I guess it's been about a year ago. COVID makes everything seem a lot longer ago than maybe it was, but you have in a recommendation that you're going to encourage cluster conservation subdivisions by incentivizing the preservation of open space. My question is whether or not we can do better than incentivize those type of developments, and maybe find a third way on this. I guess it seems to be the problem for everyone is preserving the character of the community as much as possible in that along the Mills Road area. And I wonder if it's possible within this suburban residential designation, if we can have a way, I don't know if it's even possible to create a different category, but have suburban residential conservation status or something along those lines, where if there is to be development, suburban residential development within that zone, that it not just be incentivized, but that is, so long as it's under our planning purview, that's what we want to see happen. Is that something that is possible, or is that outside of what type of authority we might have as a planning department?
Well, certainly it's something that we've heard a few times in our discussion about this plan. We'd like to see that. What you haven't heard a lot about in this particular plan is that southern leg, where exactly we want to keep the prime agricultural land. We want to keep the wooded areas intact. And one way, even if there is some smaller development sites, these cluster development subdivisions are a good way of maintaining some of that open space. So the problem being, Commissioner, is that we don't have much to incentivize. The minimum lot sizes are probably already at the level that most people are going to want for the size lot in that area. And that's usually about 1 acre in size. Without sewer and going to smaller lots and then affording the availability of keeping undeveloped portions of the tract, I don't know how we really incentivize that much else. The soil suitability, a lot of these lands, especially on that southern leg of NC 43, are not well suited for septic systems. So that's the dilemma. There might be some tracts that it would be very appropriate for, but we either have sewer availability or we've got very limited potential for septic systems. That's the problem.
So let me get right to it. If we were to take the plan as you recommended, I guess my question is it possible to say that we're not going to do suburban residential the way it's been done for the last 100 years or last 50 years, but that we're going to do it the way that we want to see it done in the 21st century, where we're developing in a way that we're maximizing the preservation of our agricultural spaces and our natural spaces? And is there a way to do something on a tax level to not just be, hey, let's do it because it's a good thing, but for developers and other people that we're saying, hey, you got to do it this way if you're going to do it in this zone, in this corridor, because obviously we want to maximize the value of hooking into the septic system, that we're going to allow density, but it's got to be done this way. And because we're going to do it this way, we're going to offer you some breaks in other areas. Is that something that your department could work on and come back to us on, or is that, I guess, and Madam Attorney, maybe you can address this, if we have authority to set that type of designation for suburban residential development?
Well, I'll just mention first, if you're talking about the availability of sewer, the current policy with the city is if sewer's made available, that land would then be annexed and it would be subject to the city's regulations. And just one, I think a very similar type development mode or model that you're talking about, the city's just recently added an agri-hood neighborhood where they're to their regulations that would afford exactly what we're talking about, more of a clustering type situation, but on sewer. What we'll see out in our jurisdiction are larger lots, maybe around an open space, but very large lots. It would also give a rural feel to it, but you're not going to get the density that you'll get in some of the other cluster subdivision lots.
So I guess, so it's not possible to have higher density and preserve more open space in the within the suburban residential footprint of the Mills Road area that I guess has been proposed. Again, the area that I think that we're hearing, at least I'm hearing, that there's an issue with that for a lot of the citizenry, and you don't feel there's a third way here where we're mandating this type of development within that zone as a kind of a middle ground. Is that what I'm hearing? And I'm sorry if I'm not being clear.
What I'm trying to indicate is that it would be a site by site determination. And it's, if we're dealing with our development regulations, it's going to be based off the soil suitability for septic systems.
Got it.
So, and we won't know that until we move further along. What I generally know about the area, it would be very hard to find large tracts, prime or areas that are good for farming and might also have some lower lying areas. It would be hard to find areas that would be conducive to a cluster development, in my opinion, in that area. If you had better soils in certain other parts of the county, you probably could do that. I'm just not familiar with any large tracts in that area that have the soil types that would be conducive to cluster development in the higher density you're talking about.
And the only other thing I would add to that, this is Janice, and I would defer to James as well, is there are further nuances between your zoning designations and your highway corridor land use plan. And I think some of the things that you're talking about, Commissioner Nunley, might be more appropriate in looking at your zoning maps rather than your land use plan related to the corridor.
Okay. Thank you both.
And again, the plan just kind of sets the stage, Commissioner Nunley. If you're really interested in cluster development, the next phase, if the plan was was approved, we would then move forward with development on some of these recommendations that are within the plan, such as cluster development.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Albright, was Commissioner Albright?
Yes, yes, please. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the report again. And one question for Mr. Rhodes. When you're talking about 3 to 5 dwellings units per acre in one designation and 1 to 2 in another, do any of those designations take into consideration a percentage that's impervious?
Well, certainly, it depends on if it's single family development style or if it might have a multifamily component to it.
What's the impervious regulation then?
For the county, it really There's a whole matrix we have to go through. It isn't necessarily the built upon area, except in the water supply watershed area, which is not in the area under consideration tonight. So there truly, you know, most of our lots that are built on with septic systems, those areas have to remain open and undeveloped. So typically our lot, in the impervious area on lots are usually in the 10, 15, maybe 20% range at the highest.
Thank you. But there's no way, I guess one of my concerns would be if we had 3 to 5 dwelling units per acre, that we could have big driveways. We're not really doing much about regulating what they do on that property. And especially once sewer comes in, we're going to back off of it's going to be backed off even further. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, sir. No, sir. That is not. Okay. In fact, if it's on sewer, the city's regulations are actually at a higher level right now than the county's. So they would look at each individual lot, the development sites, and ensure that the pre-development standards and the post-development standards are very close to one another as far as the runoff.
Thank you for that clarification. And I say again, I like the idea of the plan and how much I appreciate how much work has been put in it. And I love the idea of plans. I hope we can get one for NC 222 going out towards Wilson County before too long. But I have to say that I do not feel that we have adequately addressed item 4. I believe that in your introductory paragraph, you're stating as fact that the soils in this area are poorly drained, and that the infrastructure was developed. There is no drainage in place now. The agriculture infrastructure is still there. The resolution to these are all in future tense. And until we make some progress in addressing how these drainage issues that have been expressed so passionately and eloquently by so many citizens are going to be are being addressed, I have a hard time supporting what's being proposed here. I would have no difficulty supporting it if it were rural residential in the areas that we're talking about now. But until we're able to do something more definitive with addressing the drainage, it's a really troublesome aspect to the plan. Thank you.
Is there another hand?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
You have 2 hands. You have Commissioner White and Commissioner McLaughlin.
Okay, Commissioner McLaughlin.
Yes, Madam Chair. My concerns was somewhat Commissioner Albright. I've talked to several citizens over in that area, and their concern was, James, was about the rural agricultural residential designation, which it is now as currently. And their concern also was concerning the high density. Now, you addressed that somewhat in your presentation, that based upon what is being proposed in the soil, it's very hard to find that it's going to be high density. I think you used that term. But the sewage, of course, you did talk about that with the Greenville Utilities Commission, the drainage and the overcrowding. And those were the concern that I've gotten. And but the certainly the high density was a major concern. And based upon that, James, what could you, again, how could you address what I just mentioned to move forward with this?
Well, certainly, I think what planning staff has done after hearing discussions from the public and collecting data, especially from Greenville Utilities and other sources, there's a major investment going into this area. And even if we backed off Commissioner McLaughlin and said this is going to be rural agricultural along Mills Road, I really don't think that's what you're going to see even in the next 3 to 5 years. Sewers available to major areas through there. It will be a denser development pattern based off that. And the stormwater will be reviewed and controlled through the city stormwater management program if it is annexed into the city. And that goes along with the sewer service. So they all go hand in hand here. I'd like to tell you that that property has a good potential along Mills Road to stay agricultural. I just don't see that happening, especially with the annexation that's happened about 1.5 miles or 2 miles down Mills Road. We just seeing it being backfilled between Hollywood Crossroads and that area. That would be the logical growth for the city now.
Thank you.
James, when you say major investment, what do you mean?
I mean, a major public investment such as the sewer line that's being currently considered for extension up toward Hollywood Crossroads.
So you're not talking about big developments or developers, or you're talking about that kind of investment?
Well, I am talking that some property owners are also involved in that. It is a private-public partnership of sorts where there are some private parties involved with that sewer extension. So yes, investment both from the private and public side.
Madam Chairman.
Yes.
I may be reading this wrong, but it looks to me like we're just trying to clarify what this land can be used for and to settle on a land use plan. Is that correct?
James?
Yes, that is. And again, we're trying to plan for the next 15 to 20 years. And yes, we're taking into account a number of factors. Yes.
And we have seen this before and we've talked about it before. And it seems like to me that we're looking forward and making a plan. We're not saying what's going to happen exactly and specifically. We're just presenting this as a comprehensive land use plan to go into our 2030 comprehensive land use plan. So if I'm correct on that, and Madam Chairman, if it's appropriate, if there's no one else that just wants to speak to this, I'd like to move that we accept these two recommendations from Mr. Rhodes' department.
Okay.
I had another comment.
Who was that?
Lauren White.
Okay.
I have a couple of comments and a question. My comments are, I do just want to reiterate that landowners are not actually working with Greenville Utilities. They were strong-armed by Greenville Utilities to sell for easement rights. They did not work with them. They were strong-armed. Little 80-year-old ladies were strong-armed by Greenville Utilities. They were not working with them.
You're right.
This is about maximizing profits. There's more money available with the sewer line than if it was on septic tanks. So that's all about maximizing profits. And if we agree to this, it's not just a plan, it's giving consent for it to happen. And my question is, and I'm not sure who this needs to be directed to, but since there is a lot of farming and agriculture in this area, in the city, if this land is annexed, can the city call for farming to cease and desist?
Is that a question for James or?
It's a question for whoever knows the answer.
Well, I'll start, and there's some conditions that go along with that, Commissioner White. Certainly, we've already stated that the annexation would be voluntary. So if the property owner is consenting to annexation, more than likely, they're not going to be farming much longer on that piece of property. So that's one of the assumptions that I would come up with. So if it's an adjacent property owner you're concerned about, no, the city cannot restrict that. Agriculture is an exempt use. So it is not allowed to be controlled through zoning processes.
Is there another hand up?
Commissioner Albright has his hand up.
Commission? All right. But let me ask a question first. Okay, if we do nothing, what does that mean?
If we do nothing, remember, Madam Chair, one of the big concerns of planning staff was we felt like our existing comprehensive land use plan didn't adequately address this area. And we started out more so looking at the 43 corridor itself. Remember, south of Cox Crossing, we had a number of rezonings that were non-residential. Our existing plan did not address that. So that was one of the main things that led us, along with the 43 South road improvements. It wasn't until we got our study committee together did we start getting information about this new annexation and the possibility of sewer extension. That's when we broadened down Mills Road. So one of our big pushes for even developing the plan was the 43 South corridor and trying to protect the agricultural uses further south. What we learned and what this has turned into is more of a discussion about the Mills Road corridor versus NC 43 South.
Okay. Okay.
So we need the plan. There are some components in the plan that address some of those areas further south on NC 43.
And you said that Paramore is meeting with the stormwater.
He was at the last meeting, yes.
Yes. So it sounds like that they are trying to connect up all of the partners to look at this.
We're attempting to get some of those, at least some discussion among the various agencies, yes.
Okay. All right, there's a motion on the floor. Oh. So, okay. Any hands, Scott?
Two hands, Commissioner Nunley, Commissioner Albright.
Okay. Nunley?
Andy, you'll need a second to your motion.
Okay. So is that one of them seconding? Is
I'm
that
not.
Hank?
No, Madam Chair, I had a comment, but I'll wait.
So
the motion dies without a second. So that's,
well, I just want to make sure that
okay.
I just want to make sure that the hand, either one of the hands are not.
Well,
1 second.
Well, if Madam Chair, if I may, maybe how I'm going with this is maybe somewhat determined on what kind of along the lines that you were speaking about. What if we don't do anything? I think what this whole process has revealed is that while it does look like a big plan and there's been a lot of work that's gone into it, I think what we're finding is that there are many Highway 43 corridors in the county that need to be addressed. And I think that it's perhaps just worth considering whether or not we ought to tackle these issues a little bit more holistically at the county level. We've talked about doing strategic planning, kind of about where we want to be in the next 10 to 20 years. I know the city did this with the Horizons plan. I know that myself, I'm very concerned about smart growth in our county. And there are a lot of elements in this plan that represent a lot of those lines of thinking about smart growth. But I wonder if, just given the fact that it is a one-off plan on one corridor, and it's not a part and parcel of a larger consideration of this commission about holistically what we're doing in the county. Not that it's necessarily bad, but could we do a better job by looking at it holistically, not kicking it off the table, but maybe adding to it and taking it up on something that we're already in line to do with our strategic planning.
Madam Chair, one thing that I'd like to say, and thank you for those comments. I think that this is the beginning of what we're going to have to start certainly looking at throughout the whole county. I agree with you on that. But this is the beginning, and this is here, and there are things happening that are not part of the group that we're talking about that is in the favor of the county. I guess that's what I want to say. This motion keeps this land use under our umbrella, and I just feel like it certainly will not hurt to give them this, and I think it would be right for the people who live there or the ones who want to come out there to live.
And I believe James just said it's the owners have option to not sign on or sign on, right?
All voluntary, yes.
Yeah, all voluntary.
I understand that it's not all voluntary, it's pressure-tary.
Well, aside from, you still have, well, okay.
I think she's referring to the GUC seeking the sewer easements across properties.
Yes. Yes. All right, so the motion died without for lack of a
Hand up
second.
here.
Beg pardon?
There's still a hand up here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
it's
can't.
okay.
I can't
It's
see.
okay.
I can't see hands, Commissioner Albright.
Oh, that's okay. That's fine. I agree with Commissioner Nunley that that it's a great idea to look at this kind of topic countywide and to not wait until it comes up upon us really rapidly with some impetus like this development that's come at us so suddenly. A question, and here I guess for Mr. Rhodes, is it possible that this plan could be adopted without changing any rural residential designations? Could it be with the rest of the plan, except you didn't change what you're suggesting from rural residential to suburban residential? And if that's not possible, is it possible for you to relook at it and adjust some of what you're suggesting?
Two things. Yes, certainly we can adjust the map as you see fit. If you've got recommendations there, we could drop it back to where we currently have the suburban residential line. I will say, and the manager's already aware, that we are looking forward to updating our complete comprehensive land use plan starting next budget year. But we knew this was a rapidly changing area, and we felt compelled, just like with the Southwest Bypass Corridor plan, we felt this needed extra attention up front. But just so you know, the next big planning effort will be countywide.
Okay, so a little more specific on the question, would you prefer a motion to approve the plan with an amendment that keeps all rural residential property designations intact, or would you prefer to go back and look at the different ones and adjust those according to y'all's needs? I don't really want to get into micromanaging your plan, but I think there's a great concern here throughout with unanswered questions about the drainage, and that at this point, the rural residential seems appropriate. If those concerns can be addressed, and maybe it could be changed later. So that's what I'm trying to ask. I'd be glad to make the motion to go forward with a plan, but not with the suburban residential included.
I'd really like to have an opportunity to look back at the map and bring that map. I'd rather for everyone on the board, I hate to belabor this at another meeting, but I think it would be important to see exactly what you're planning, what you're adopting. So
I think it's smart.
I welcome that motion, but I would certainly like to bring that map back before you.
Thank you. I want your guidance on this, and I do not want to make that motion. I'd like to hear from you again on this, and I hope that we can do that.
Okay, well, I'll withdraw my motion with that caveat, bringing that back to us at our next meeting.
Good move.
Thank you for your consideration.
And bring it back to everybody's open mind.
Okay, so the consensus is that you will bring it back. Is It's not a motion.
I will work with the manager to get it on one of your next meetings. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay. All right, we will now move to the second item, project ordinance, social service, community development block grant, coronavirus. Brian.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chairwoman and Board of Commissioners. What we have in front of you tonight, at your December 7th board meeting, you approved acceptance of $899,484 of federal community block grant money tied to the coronavirus to help with people who are in eviction needs and utility needs. This money is funneled through the North Carolina Department of Commerce, and the North Carolina Department of Commerce is asking, or technically requiring us to put that money in a separate project ordinance. Just so you all know, a project ordinance is very similar to our budget ordinance, with the exception that it follows the life of the project and not the fiscal year. So at that same meeting, you approved a budget amendment to accept the money, and we are using that budget amendment as the guidance for our project ordinance. And as staff, we're just asking you to approve this project ordinance so we can meet the requirements set by the Department of Commerce.
Okay, Commissioner Nunley?
Move to approve.
Second.
Commissioner, okay, it's been moved in second that we approve this ordinance for the community development block grant on the virus. Are you ready for the question, Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner McGlawhorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We'll move to the next one. The Winnable EMS Squad Addition Funding Request. Brian, you're up again.
Thank you again. During the March 11th EMS Oversight Committee, the Winterville EMS Department nonprofit requested additional funding outside of the amount that we had already given them this fiscal year of $38,000. This money is going to be used for part-time staff, vehicle insurance, and various other small financial needs within the department. Staff recommended using EMS fund balance to make this request, but also caution at this time that last fiscal year we did have to transfer money over to the EMS fund to kind of prop it up, and that we did not want to continue to tap into fund balance as the year continued if we did not need to. The EMS Oversight Committee unanimously voted to approve this request. So at this point in time, I'm bringing the request to you all for approval because this will require a budget amendment because we are looking to take money out of the EMS's fund balance in order to make this request.
Madam Chairwoman, can I make a comment on this?
Yes.
I'm recommending to delay this item till the next meeting on two premises. One, the EMS tax had to be increased last year because there were insufficient funds to carry the budget as it was being presented. And also we had to do a $425,000 transfer from the general fund into the EMS fund just to keep it afloat. My concern is if we have this first request at $38,000, how many more requests will we have if our fund balance is not in good shape? What I'm recommending is the EMS Oversight Committee, I believe at the same meeting, had approved a tier structure for additional funding for squads. This would be for next fiscal year, beginning July 1 for 21-22, is like a tier 1, 2, 3, and 4. And based upon your call volume, the more calls you made, the more additional funding you could request during the year. I think there's a total of $59,000 that was suggested to be put into this pot, and the squad would come forward and make the justification to the EMS Oversight Committee that would come before you. I'm suggesting to pull that concept or that idea into the current year, go ahead and take $59,000 out of fund balance and cap it, and then allow the squads to apply for their appropriate tier 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if we can do this at the next meeting on the 19th, I believe it is, yes, April 19th, we could consider that as well as doing a budget amendment for the 59,000 and also applying that tier system towards this request.
Okay.
Do we need a motion for that, or can we just do it?
I think either way.
We can,
I think it's a good idea, and I think that probably it's not the right time to vote on it because it's opening Pandora's box, so to speak.
all right, we will move it to the next meeting.
Okay.
Moving to the next item, offer to purchase county-owned property acquired by tax foreclosure. Madam Attorney?
Yes, thank you. This, the information related to this item is in your package beginning on page 79. The county manager received an offer from Hal Smith III and Tiffany Smith in the amount of $3,400 to purchase Pitt County parcel number 26652 in the Winterville area, but within the county's jurisdiction. The county is currently the owner of this property because we foreclosed as a result of overdue taxes many years ago. At the time of the foreclosure sale, the highest bid, which reflected the amount of outstanding taxes and fees at the time, was $3,400. If the county is willing to consider this offer, then you would conditionally accept it, advertise it for upset bids, wait a 10-day period, follow the upset bid process, and then sell it to the highest bidder. If that's the desire of the board, you would need a motion as reflected in the agenda package to accept, reject, or make a counteroffer to the $3,400. And if it's to accept it, that you move that it be published in the newspaper for the upset bid period until any final offer is accepted by the Board of Commissioners.
Okay, Commissioner Nunley?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that we accept the offer and go forward with the procedure as outlined by the county attorney.
Commissioner Ward?
I second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and second that we go forward with the recommendation of Madam Attorney for this tax foreclosure property. Are you ready for the question, Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes, and I just would like to bring it to everybody's attention. I did get a message from Tiffany and Hal Smith that they had gotten locked out of the meeting and were trying to get back in, but I'm assuming since we're voting to approve their bid, they probably won't have any issues with that, but I just wanted to make everyone aware of that.
Okay.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner McGlaughlin,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We'll move to the next item. Scott, that's Community Development Block Grant on coronavirus. Board resolution requests.
Yeah, this is similar to the other one on the CDBG-CV. This is for delegation of signature authority for the eviction assistance on CDBG. Just needs the board's approval on this if you'll grant it.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and second that we approve. You ready for the question? Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner McGlaughlin,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We'll now move to appointments to the EMS Oversight Committee.
I'll be happy to take that just to get us through it. We're looking
Yes.
to Jack Cody, who was the PCC representative on this committee, had resigned. Mackenzie Newkirk is being recommended by Dr. Rouse to take his place on the Oversight Committee.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes, I'd like to recommend Mackenzie Newkirk to the PCC Director of Fire and Emergency, not to it, but to the group.
Second.
It's been moved in second that Newkirk be appointed to the EMS Oversight Committee. Ready for the question, Madam Clerk?
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner McGlawhorn,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. We're down to commissioner comments and reports. Commissioner Colson?
No comments.
Commissioner Fitzpatrick?
No comment. Thank you.
Commissioner McGlawhorn?
No comments.
Commissioner Albright?
No comment.
Commissioner Ward?
No comment.
Commissioner White?
No comment.
Commissioner Perkins Williams?
I have comments. I'd like to say thank you to the disaster team for the Carolinas and to the two people who brought this project of the PPE and Dr. Linker, who wanted a total community involvement. I worked on this project, and I like to say to the board, especially Aiden, a manager, and Farmville, Bethel, Simpson, people in Belvoir, to the business people and churches who were involved, and the count of Winterville and Simpson and Grifton who participated, both elected officials in these municipalities, as well as the County Commissioner Colson White, Ward, Beth Ward, Alex Albright, and myself for trying to make this happen. It is a total community involvement, and I want to say thank you. Dr. Linker wanted it totally involvement, and he also wanted the children to be wanted the community to be fully engaged from all aspects. So for businesses, we have the E.R. Lewis Construction Company. We have Harry Teal. We have I forget what Carl Dawson business is. We have private citizen Molly Holdeman and Frankie Bordeaux. You know, it is very good to have the North Carolina Association of Retired Personnel under the leadership of Frankie Bronson, who is providing a lot of manpower of retirees, and Ms. Patty Saunders of the HBCUs, and that made it all aspects as it relates to Holy Temple, Gumswamp Church Road, and St. Peter's Missionary Baptist Church, Triumph Missionary Baptist Church. And these are the ones that was there so far. We couldn't have made it happen though without Mr. Lewis, who picked up all of the products from the drop-off site, and Mr. Dunn and Ms. Thurston for their coordination and getting the funds. I like to say, this was my first, I want the children to be in school. I really want them in school. And so I pushed everything aside for it. And thank you, commissioners. And you will hear from us as it relates to moving it, because you know the schools are closed and we can't deliver it until the schools reopen so that the principal can receive it. Thank you so very much, commissioners. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, now we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk.
Chairwoman Floyd Huggins,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Fitzpatrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Albright,
Yes.
Commissioner Colson,
Yes.
Commissioner McGlaughlin,
Yes.
Commissioner Nunley,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
Commissioner White,
Yes.
Commissioner Perkins Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Good night.
Thank you.